Night Owls.
Turn on Night Owls.
with Alan Robson.
Hello and welcome everybody. Alan Robson with you. Of course, it's the Night Owls program on Greatest Hits Radio Northeast. Thank you so much for joining us. Core blimey. Counting the number of shows that we've done, because I noticed in America, James Corden's finished his 6th year doing the Late Late show over there. He's done 1,000 shows. I've been adding mine up. I'm already well over 7,000. Which is amazing. And it's all down to you guys. Thank you very much for joining us every time that we happen to be on. You point your area in our direction. Spread the word of the owl, of course. And a lot to talk about tonight. We always give you a challenge, and the challenge tonight is a good one. I know it's Christmas, and I don't know about you, but I think Christmas brings the very worst of a lot of people out. Drivers honking horns, giving the finger and all that kind of stuff. So tonight I thought we'd deal with ugly things. Granted, Chris Felton's on our switchboard. You've just seen one of them walk past me and drop the mouse. That's Hollywood McShane, producer to the stars. So we're looking at what are the ugliest things, the ugliest thing you've ever seen. What was it? Now, the reason I mention this is there was a family out, and I noticed them because they were all wearing their Christmas jumpers. A family, husband, well, man and woman, because you never know whether the husband or wife or, you know what I mean, it's complicated. But anyway, 2 adults, 3 children, all wearing the same jumper. Frankly, a mistake, but it's Christmas. You can get away with any old tat. And that is, Jumper Day was a charitable hab-nab, so I'm in favour. And I noticed them and I thought, oh, isn't that really nice? And then the dad stopped. He had 2 dogs on the end of a lead. And the first dog, kind of a greyhoundy kind of thing, started to poo. And I'm sorry, but it was one of the ugliest. I think dogs pooing, and I know they can't help it, we've all got to poo, but it was kind of like on tippy toes, and its back legs were shaking, and it was coming out like a pen, like that spiral of a pencil sharpener, oh dear. And then, of course, talk about ugly, him having to pick up kind of a wet one. Oh, just. So what's the ugliest thing you've ever seen? Be honest about it. We could argue, we could mention genitals, because let's face it, none of us would have a painting of those on our mantelpiece, would we? And let's face it. So genitals pretty ugly. I wrote down just a few things that I think are really ugly. One of them's a tad contentious. Newborn babies. Yeah, and everybody goes, oh, isn't she, it lovely? No. But anyway, not having given birth myself, maybe I'd feel differently. Maybe the species is perpetuated because people who have babies look at them and go, oh, even though they look just a mess. Frankly, they've got no idea of style at that age. So newborn babies. I asked Hollywood McShane what his was. He says working late in the city centre, because he does some DJing, he sees a lot of people throwing up in the street, and that's never pretty. And I must admit, once I drove down a back lane to try and miss a blocked road, and this was about 20 past 11 at night, and there was about 6 or 7 women all squatting down, having wheeze behind bins and stuff in the lane. And no, that was one of the ugliest things I've ever seen. Builders' butt cracks, builders' bottoms. What is it? Why can't they buy proper trousers that don't show that moon? So dogs pooing, People picking their nose, or men spitting in the street. Hate that, loathe it, nasty. No excuse for it. And if I mention spitting, I've also got to mention snotting. You know that thing? Women never do this, but men on occasions. I used to work on a building site, and there was one guy who did this about 8 times a day, and I have no reason why he did it. Sometimes while he was up on the scaffolding, and he puts his finger on one nostril, closing it, and he fires an alien about a foot long out of the other nostril. Zap. Onto the path of missing people carrying bricks up the ladder. Just ugly, ugly, ugly. So what are the ugly things that you have seen? Ugly things we want. Give Chris a call right now on 0191 488 3188. Get your calls in. We got a lot of things that some people think are, well, frankly, pretty ugly. Getting caught on the loo.
Like on the toilet, door open, there was black summer, red coffee, just doing my own thing. And then I just looked over, and then there was only 2 builders on the roof.
No. Oh, shucks. Oh, that's
looking
awful.
over, doing work on the roof, pointing, absolutely laughing at the head up. Oh, I could see my face going red sitting on the toilet, but I couldn't get up to pull my pants up because I couldn't shut the door. I had to. And the red hot there, they pointed at each other. Look at that, look at her, look at her. No. And you could plainly see straight through.
Oh, dear.
Oh, totally embarrassing.
It is. Good. It is a hard look to get well. Mind you, there is something worse. People biting their toenails? You used to bite your toenails?
Right.
Whoa.
They say I'm walking like a donkey now.
Anik, getting caught short is pretty ugly.
Me and my mum were going to the chippy. We're standing and this old woman came over to her and she started talking to her. She's going, honestly, I don't feel well at all. She's going, I just need to get to my friend's house. I think I need the toilet. And my mum's standing thinking, right, okay. And then she smelled a bit odd and it was standing and she's going, honestly, I've got a really bad stomach.
Right.
And then all of a sudden we heard this noise. And then she went, I think I feel a bit better now. She says, I think I need to get to my friend's house. She went, I don't know where it is. Could you give us some directions?
Right.
And then she turned round to show which direction it was, and she had this massive turd in her tights.
It had actually gone down a leg.
It slid out of her...
out of her pants, into her tights, down a leg. That is the most disgusting story I've ever heard. Oh, no. Oh, that's horrible. So there you go. That is fairly ugly. Can you do uglier than that? There's a question. 0191 488 3188. Get your calls in. What's the ugliest thing that you have ever seen? 0191 488 3188. There's a few things to talk about too. Human rights. We're now being forced to obey. We're forced to get injections even if we don't want them. If we want to go into a nightclub, a restaurant, or a gig, you're going to have the 3rd booster jab. Also, a 91-year-old man this week dies after breaking his hip. He had to wait over 10 hours for the paramedics to get there, let alone the ambulance. Durham Cathedral, interesting. There's a hymn that they sing round about this time of year. Oh, come all ye faithful. Well, Durham Cathedral say you can't get into Durham Cathedral unless you can prove you've had 3 jabs. There you go. And also, we've not been able to mix and match and do all those kind of things. So, we've forgotten how to flirt, according to some of the newspapers this weekend. Forgotten how to flirt. What's the best way? How easy would it be for you to get into a conversation with somebody? Have we lost the art because we haven't been getting out and about? Love your view on that. Also, Eddie's been on. He's very angry about the way the government are acting, not just because of the sly and the lies and all of that kind of stuff. He says, our way of life has been destroyed in 2 years. All of the things we truly value, travel, holidays, dining out, all of the perks in life have been taken away from us. Unnecessarily, he believes. What do you think? And of course, we want the ugliest thing that you have ever seen. Maybe it's somebody with a spanking fetish.
Build up, the intensity, the cuddles afterwards always makes it good.
So does this lead to sex, or does it just lead to a red backside?
It depends, because I can kind of get turned on by spanking, so making love afterwards doesn't really...
Have you ever had a girl that just doesn't want to hurt you?
Yeah, but we got over it, and eventually when she read up about it and that, and she got into it.
Right.
I've been to a spanking party before, which was very good.
So she got into it to the degree that you could spank her as well?
Yes. So it was like I was a switch. So that was pretty good.
Can you explain to me what happened to the spanking party? And I mean, forgive the young. Well, obviously there are spanking elements. Well, I know this. So, but is it like swappy partners to spank? Or?
No. Well, yeah, but there's no like other sex or anything. Just spanking and that's it. And you have like cakes and nice drinks and stuff, and chocolate cake.
So you're just merely out there with a bunch of spankers. And something else that's ugly: anybody who ever eats live squid.
We went away home, we saw this like local Chinese like little shop thing. And I went, oh, Chinese, I like Chinese. Went over there, says, can I have a house special, one of them? It come in a little tub. And I said, oh, champion. Walking home and eating it. A couple of mouthfuls, so it's nice. Then about the third or fourth mouthful, I felt something wriggling in my mouth.
Oh my goodness, no.
Yeah. And I gone, that's not right. So I went to get into a light so I can see what I was actually eating. And it was wriggling in the pot. It was halfway down the pot. It was the rich stuff wriggling. And I didn't realise it was squid, live squid.
Oh, that would stick to the roof of your mouth with its tentacles, surely.
There was just wriggling going down my mouth. You know, it felt like eating worms or something.
No, you wouldn't. You just
wouldn't. No, and you can feel it wriggling in your tummy.
Oh, no. So we're after ugly things. Tell me about all your ugly things. The ugliest thing about you, the ugliest thing about the people in your house, the ugliest thing you've ever seen. Now, one of the ugliest things ever seen, breaking wind. Yeah, it's an ugly thing, however you do it, but especially after you've just been intimate with your beloved one. I understand the principle. If you've got air in a place, it's likely going to come out. That much I understand, but it can't be very sexy.
No, it's not. It's the right turn off for us women, and I don't know about the men.
You know, it's like, oh, darling, I love you so much. And I love you. Oh, that's not sexy, is it?
No, it's not. It's horrible. I think they like it, these men. I think they like it, but with us women, no, it's embarrassing.
What, they like you to break wind after sex?
I think they seem to get the impression they think they're satisfying you or something, but it's not. It's just trap wind.
Oh, hang on, I don't think I satisfied her. Oh, yes, I did. That doesn't make any sense at all.
Well, I'm just talking from my experience. I don't know about anybody else.
No, I think you guys are going to have to ring in about that. 01914883188. Whatever you want to talk about, that's what we're going to do. In the meantime, let's have a bit of music. I think we shall have an absolute gem of a tune. Love this to bits. Kicking off on Greatest Hits Radio Northeast with a bit of Lynyrd Skynyrd.
Hi everybody and welcome to another one of our legendary Alan Robson's Night Owls Ghost Hunts. It is horrific weather. We're going to do the best we can for you under the circumstances. Hollywood McShane, of course, has a huge umbrella. The rest of us absolutely soaked to the gunnels.
Very.
My groin feels like it's surrounded by an octopus at the moment. However, where are we? Do you have any clue where we are? This Aikenside, it's called Aikenside Hill now.
It is, yeah.
Because Aikenside House is just on the end.
That's right.
Long story short, it was this road that made me want to become a radio presenter. Because I was coming back from doing some job, just collecting some stuff that somebody wanted. And I came walking up, and I was a keen mobile DJ at the time.
Yeah.
And I heard somebody, a DJ at Akenside House, putting a party on, and he went, "That was the sound of Argentina Torna." And I thought, I gotta be able to do it better. I have to be able to. Whether I did or whether I didn't, it's for you guys to judge, not me. However, this is Butcher's Bank. What a great name. It's not Aiken, it's Akenside Hill officially, but the Butcher's Bank all the way up. Why? Because at one time, all of the animals would come down to the central station where the cattle market was.
It hasn't changed, has it?
The cattle market.
The animals
there.
still come down.
No. Don't be like that. They used to collect in the cattle market there. Then the butchers from here would come down and they'd send their staff to say 7 cows, 12 sheep or whatever. And they'd walk them through the town, up this bank to the top. Why this bank? Because of the slope. Because they slaughtered the animals on the hill. They slaughtered them here, and the blood ran all the way down the hill. Now, problem was, at the time, there was a lot of poo running down hills from people's houses because there wasn't any efficient sewage system. So all the poo was running down, all the blood was flies. You can't imagine how nasty that would have been. Apologies for the alarm going off in this shop. It's got the sign of the devil in the back of it. Maybe that's got something to do with it. So Butcher's Bank, slaughtering animals, cutting their throats, hanging them up, letting them bleed out, running down into the River Tyne. The River Tyne here was pink nearly the whole time because of the amount of blood that was running in. Now, there is one story from a guy called Somerville. His name was Robert Somerville. He was a butcher for a man they think that was called Finlay. Now, Finlay, there's butcher shops called Finlay now around and about the city. We don't know whether it was the same person or not. We don't know whether it was a Findlay or a Finlay. But this Somerville worked for this guy. And the guy that he worked for was having a lot of trouble getting hold of meat because it was the Napoleonic War. And for whatever reason, a lot of people that should have been farming were out fighting. And there was a shortage of meat. And yet, this Somerville, when he went off to market to get some animals from, he always managed to come back with already butchered meat. He had kidneys and heart and slices of pork. And his boss was thinking, I don't know how he's doing this, but I'm the only person making money here. He's making a fortune in bonuses. Then, one day, a councilwoman, remember, if there's a shortage of meat, you go to where the meat is. People started buying, posher people started buying from this butcher, and a councilwoman bit into the speciality of Somerville, which was a mutton pasty. And as she bit into it, she felt some hair in her mouth. She pulled it out of her mouth, and it was a human eyelid with the eyelashes on it. She gave it to her husband and said, have you seen this? And he said, I shall look into it, because he was a councilman and he had power. And then he discovered that Somerville was a Freemason. And Somerville's brother was one of his friends on the council. So they hushed the whole thing up. The Somerville vowed he would never do it again. That wasn't enough for the council. He made the guy leave the northeast. And he moved down, presumably to start doing the same thing again in Leeds. So that is the story of Butcher Bank. There's hundreds of other stories. Come down and I'll tell you about the next one. And hope you don't feel it. I tell you what, why don't you all, in your clothes, go and sit in the bath? Then you, not a hot bath, a cold bath, then you'll know how we're feeling at the moment.
It's weird that crucifix is upside down because your badge is turned upside down.
Has it?
Your Night Owl's badge is upside down, look.
Don't forget to share, because if you do share, mine's the right way. You can win yourself a Night Owl's badge. Share, and do us a favour if you can. Right, spread the word. Down here, remember, blood, guts, entrails, all kinds of stuff running down the hill, rats everywhere, local dogs getting hold of a bit of meat and running off with it, seagulls, crows. You can't imagine what it must have been like just to work in this neck of the woods. Now, you get to this spot here. Now, it doesn't look like a roundabout because there's kind of a strange roundabouty thing there. But here, at one time, this is 200 years ago, they built a huge, to try, looking at this wasn't pretty.
No.
So what they did was,
I can imagine.
leaving enough room for you to get cattle on both sides of it, they built a beautiful fountain. They built a fountain here, and it got the nickname the Butcher's Spittoon. And when they strapped it and they pulled it all up, they built another one in the Granger Market, and it was there for 180 years. And it was also nicknamed the Butcher's Spittoon because the Granger Market's full of butchers. Anyway, down we come, this way. All of the streets up here have stories, and I've just realised that because so many people are loving these kind of grisly tales, which are grisly trails, I just realised, Kenny, I've got immense power. We could look at that road sign over there, for example, and say,
Queen Street.
This is where one of our queens was born back in, and you could say that and get, it's not true.
It's not true.
It's not true. I was going to do a thing about Blondell. There's a Blondell Street down here. I was going to say the actress Joan Blondell was born there.
But she wasn't.
She wasn't. No. We'll stick to the ones you can look up and the ones you can look up and justify.
Yeah.
They're the main ones. This is Lombard Street, so it could be Carol Lombard. They used to go out with Clark Gable.
Isn't it strange though? I mean, you know, you used to come down here, drink in, have nights out and that. I still couldn't tell you the names of any of these streets.
Really?
I really couldn't, really couldn't. And yet,
but I've been educating you.
I know you have now, but apart from that, you wouldn't know the names of any of these streets, would you? You'd know them by a Vika or the pub that you went to.
The pub behind where the Premier Inn is.
Yeah, you wouldn't know them by the name of the streets.
Isn't it, though? And you got to remember, that's how they did it in the old days too. It was always the road where the such and such inn is, or where the coach house is. Don't drown in the.
I wouldn't have a clue that was Lombard Street.
There you go.
This is the home of Alan Robson's Night Owls.
With the voice of the North.
Greatest Hits Radio.
Welcome one, welcome all. Hope you are having a nice gentle, who we're trying to kid? I was going to say gentle run up towards Christmas. It never is it? And if you've got any young children, what is it that they are desperate to get their hands on this Christmas? I'd love to find out what your toy requirements are. Because probably from about July, they've been telling you and dropping you hints. So tell us, what are they after? Anyway, we have Davey with us next, and he is in Rowlandsgill. Let's head over there. Hi, Davey.
Hello, Alan. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, mate. Thanks for joining us. What you want to talk about tonight?
Just everything, really, like restrictions and obviously the spirits as well.
Yeah.
I left a comment the other night when you did that was 2 weeks ago, actually. 2 weeks ago, God's Friday, wasn't it?
Right, yes.
When you were down next to the Cupbridge?
Yes. Fortnight.
Well, it was just about the spirits, really. Obviously, being a rescue medium, and obviously, that's my trade, you know what I mean?
Right,
It was just, obviously, you were on about Henry Hardwick, weren't you? I think Henry's passed over, because I've tried to make contact with Henry a lot of times, and he doesn't respond, and he's not been seen for a very long time, but there is a lady that's down there called Jane Jameson. She was, this was back in 1800s, and basically Jane had killed her mother.
Right.
She'd murdered her mother, and she tried to free my boyfriend for it.
Right.
And now she just patrols the quayside, and she's seen a lot of times, the John Wesley Memorial.
All right, yes.
Next to the bridge, she's seen by there, and then various sets of stairs where you were the other night, and
right.
Particularly, behind the Bridge Hotel, where them steps go down to the Cupbridge.
Yes.
She's seen walking along there. I mean, people have seen her and that. And, she just wanders around calling out for her lover and that. And,
right.
But she framed him. She tried to frame him for the murder of her mother, but she got found out and she ended up getting put in the castle keeping. She was executed in 1829 for this crime, you know what I mean?
Right, amazing.
It's a
just shows you, though, I mean, the city, I was just reading through old news bulletins from, I think it was about 1866 or something, and I read about 3 weeks worth, and there was enough material to keep me going for a month. And that was just in about 3 weeks back in 1866. There was all kinds of dodgy stuff going on. I say different to what happens today. Kind of the same, you know, people being murdered, people trying to put the blame on other people, boats tipping over and drownings. There was all kinds going on. It's fascinating when you get it, you know, under the skin of a city like that. It's interesting.
It is, yes. We've got a pretty wonderful city there, like, with a lot of history, like.
For sure, no question about it. Right. Anything else then, Davey?
I was just wondering about the restrictions as well. I think it's a pure joke. Like, they're just lying to the people, basically, like.
So you don't believe this new Omicron's anything to worry about?
Well, no, I do a lot of decoding, and I decoded it through a friend of mine in America, and it comes back as media control.
Right.
If you decode Omicron, you know what I mean, it comes back as media control. I just think they're going to lump different things. Next it'll be some other variant, and after that it'll be something else, and it'll just go on and on and on until people stand up and say, look, no, we've had enough, you know what I mean? But like the guy said...
Why would hang on, why would the government do that to their own people? Because obviously a lot of people are very critical of Boris, more so than ever, you know, with the recent findings of parties and quizzes and him ignoring his own rules and stuff. So why would he make things worse for himself by doing this kind of thing?
I don't think he is. He's just a puppet. It's the New World Order that's behind, like the deep state, behind the scenes government. They're telling him to do it, and he just does it. You know what I mean?
Right. So how does it benefit the nation or whoever's behind keeping the nation under control? Because we're talking about control here. If what you say is true, who benefits then?
Well, certainly not us, certainly not the normal average working class people or even the middle class. It's just the rich.
But how do they benefit? Because if they're rich, they're usually rich because they own shops, clubs, spas, restaurants, and all of those things have been hammered by the whole COVID thing.
It's not them type of rich, it's certainly above the elites, the globalists and that, you know what I mean, the New World Order. They want to use us as slaves, and they want to kill a lot of people, which this vaccine boosters are. I mean, we've already had primary facial evidence to say to the country, you know what I mean? And we have all the evidence there, and we've put stuff forward. Me and this is obviously team of one.
Yeah, but you could argue there's a lot of doctors and scientists and what have you have argued, but hang on a second, there's people would have died if they hadn't had the vaccines, they claim. I mean, obviously you don't believe that, but if doctors and medical people tell us, we've been conditioned to believe them, haven't we?
Well, yeah, but we've been lied to all our lives. If you really research into it, you know what I mean, you look at it, it's just been lie after lie.
But why would your doctor lie to you when presumably he or she's been your doctor for however long, perhaps even from when you were born? Why would he want to lie to you?
Money is a big thing. They're getting paid for it, you know, and they're receiving something like £28.50 for each shot given to people, and there's a lot of money at stake for them, you know what I mean?
I hear that, but surely one doctor somewhere would say, not acceptable, I'm going to tell everybody the truth. Out of all the doctors in all the countries in all the world, somebody's going to come forward and say, I don't believe it, it's all fake, I can prove it. Surely.
Well, a lot have. Dr. David Martin, Dr. Kurt Van Bosch, there's a lot come forward in different countries. A lot of doctors and a lot of them have spoke out, and there's a lot of them being killed actually and just took out because of it, spoke out. A lot of people have lost their lives because of it.
But you see, I still don't see how somebody stopping you going to a nightclub, say, somebody who stops you, and remember, the rich have also had difficulty and they've not been allowed to fly to all of these countries around the world, which surely, especially if you're mega rich, you would want to do. Why would they stop themselves from doing what they would enjoy, which is going to Miami, flying to Hong Kong, going to Australia, having 3 months in wherever? They haven't been able to do that. So that's not benefiting even the mega rich, is it?
Well, no, but obviously I haven't got all the answers. I wish I did, you know what I mean?
Fair
But
enough, fair enough.
there's definitely stuff going on behind the scenes and stuff. And, it's not normal, you know what I mean?
Right. So what do you think's going to happen next then? Where do you see it going from here then, Davey?
I really don't know at the minute. I really do not know. It's hanging in the balance. I don't know where it's going to go, but
I know that there's 60 Tory MPs going to vote against any potential increase in lockdowns and what have you in future. They say they're completely and utterly against it. They don't think it's right for the British people. Do you stand with them?
I'm unsure on that. I'm undecided. I don't think there'll be another lockdown as such. I think it's just going to be these restrictions, which obviously, like we're saying, if you haven't got a COVID passport, you can't go here, you can't go there.
It is terrifying. If you think to where we were, where everybody was going everywhere all the time, pretty much.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, nobody's going anywhere at all. You've got to be in Britain. You've got to spend your money in Britain. You've got a holiday in Britain. You got to do everything. We try not to meet loads of people. And the level of control, I would, hand on heart, 3 years ago, if somebody had told me that that's what it's going to be like in Britain in 2021, I would never have believed them. Never believed it's possible, because I know how keen British people are, especially, to do what they want, you know, and then all of a sudden we're kind of, it's not like the collar's being tugged and we're now all sitting at heel.
Yeah, I think it is a lot to do with control. I mean, most of it is control. They want to control it. They want a cashless society where it's digital currency.
It's heading that way. Where you can see it.
You want to get rid of cash, where they cut the middleman out, so there'll be no more, like, the man making a few quid on the side, because it will be all digital currency, so that cuts him out straight away, you know what I mean?
Right.
And they're going to have to count for everything. I don't know. I don't have all the answers at the moment.
No, but it's interesting view all the same, Davey. Thank you very much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Thanks, man. All the best. Bye-bye. Don't have to agree with him. Where do you stand on this? Are we just being controlled? Are we now just mere puppets? And the super elite, the Illuminati, on the cusp of stepping into place to push away the dumb Borises of this world, and maybe the elder statesman Joe Bidens of this planet, and take over completely what lies ahead. All we can say is we're going to be watching and probably suffering all the way, because ordinary, common, decent, hard-working people tend to be the ones that get it in the neck every time. 0191 488 3188. We are off to that sainted borough of Giz immediately after this, talking to Tony.
Greatest Hits Radio.
So Nico, so help me with me, brolly. Charming. Come on. We're heading there, actually.
Obviously, he didn't want her on camera with him because he shouldn't be with her.
Is that right?
He went like anyone.
Sometimes you come across
that was funny.
An indiscretion or two.
Yeah. You just seen the look of panic on his face.
Now, here's the thing.
Yeah.
Seaburn, right?
Yeah.
Seaburn. Been to Seaburn a lot.
Yeah.
Lake Seaburn.
Lovely.
Nice. Did you know that there used to be a motorised ferry from Seaburn up to the River Tyne?
No.
Yeah. And
Seriously?
there's a story from kind of where we're heading next. Before that, we've got to hit Spillers, which is, what's this puddle, Tony?
The Baltic.
You need a boat to get across that sucker.
Big puddle.
I feel like my gonads are in a big puddle. Nearly
There's
missed
a little
it.
street sign on
Nearly
there.
missed it. Nearly missed
What's
it.
that alleyway called?
Look at this.
Look at that.
Look at this.
What's it called?
It was for a
something char.
Plumber char.
Plumber char.
Now, first of all, what was a char?
I don't honestly know.
It was one of the. They built them out to sea so that boats could dock on the char.
Right.
And loads of the streets in Newcastle are called that. This was called Green's Alley for a long time because I don't want to look at it. It's about 3 or 4 inches water in there. But about halfway up this alley, a guy called Green committed suicide. It was called Green's Alley. Now there wasn't all this metal stuff when he did it. What he did was there was a hook outside one of the doors, and he saw it, and he'd had a big row with his family, and he decided he wanted to end it all. So here it is, Plumber Char, better known as Green's Alley, because by the time they found him, he was that colour.
Oh, you're going to say, what's the point of a window in there?
What's the point of a window?
What is a window?
To get out in case there's a fire, I suppose. Ah, dear. But isn't it funny, just everywhere you go, there's a little alley or there's a little something.
Look at this.
Thomas Spence.
Yeah.
He was born here. And once again, I know they've got modern buildings up here. Thomas Spence was a writer, a land reformer, a campaigner for the rights of men and women. And he wasn't actually universally liked for doing it, because a lot of people believe that women are best answering to men. He didn't believe in that, and he was one of the first people in Britain to try and generate proper rights for women, 50-50, same as men kind of thing. So this is where he was born, Fenwick's Entry. And I'm not going to go in Fenwick's.
No, we're not going to go in Fenwick's
I'm not
Entry.
going in Fenwick's Entry. I don't know about you.
We're not interested in
No,
Fenwick's.
I'm not interested. Leave that alone. Excuse me. Oh, dear. Oh, yeah. Everywhere inside looks warm and lovely, doesn't it? Pizza shop there.
Yeah, even Greg's looks inviting with the lights off.
It's true. But we're heading along here.
Custom House Yard.
Yeah.
What's into that thing there, look?
Because this used to be where the customs house was, where people from all of the boats, remember, tall ships,
yeah,
right the way along here, they would have to come in and declare what their cargoes were. And there's been many a fight and many a bust up, because sometimes if you slid the customs people a few.
And yes, it is time for you to pick up your phone and give us a call. We mentioned the Grand Borough of Giz, and Tony's there in Gisborough. Hiya, Tony.
Hiya, Paul. I got your name right this time.
Well, no, you didn't, because it's Alan. Hi.
Oh, did I still get it wrong? Oh, sorry.
That's
Beg your
all right.
pardon. It's Alan Robson, of course it is.
No worries. What can we do for you, Tony?
It's just I'm a bit lonely, and I thought I'd give you a ring because I was listening to the radio, and don't know what to say now. I'm getting old. I'm 67, and my knees. I crashed down on my knees earlier on today.
Oh, blame
and my knees took the impact wonderfully, and I was all right. But honestly, the close scrapes I come to in my flat. Sometimes it's amazing I don't come a cropper. I've got to watch it with TVs and things,
Right. Have you been in the bath and tried to make sure that, rest your knees to make sure that you haven't done any long-term damage?
Oh, I haven't, I can tell. No, I know I haven't, honestly. Thanks for your concern.
That's all right. No worries. It's just all right. When you're on your Todd, it's one of those things that nobody asks, so you kind of just try and put
I
up
have
with
a
it.
carer who comes in. She came in and she did ask. She was concerned. She did care.
Well, that's good. That's good. So, come on. We were talking earlier on about what is the ugliest thing you've ever seen. There you go. There's a question.
Well, the ugliest thing I've ever been through, never mind just saying, was I was getting an easel. An easel, what you're painting on, and it was a foldy up one. And I went to a shop in Roman Road in Middlesbrough to get one for a friend who she wanted one the same as I had.
Right.
And I was coming back home from the shop, and my gut started making
rumbling,
funny noises and things.
Right.
And I got to within about 2 feet of my front door.
Right.
And it was just the floodgates or whatever you want to. It wasn't wet. It was the other one,
Right.
solid.
Right.
And it was just like the big D. The D. I won't spell that. Dire, you know. You know what I mean.
we can't spell it, but we know what it is.
It was disgusting, honestly. The most disgusting experience I've ever been through. It was.
Did your trousers
terrible.
manage to hold it until you got in, or was it all over the place?
It didn't go past me
Your pants.
jeans, but it filled up my jeans. It was like you know, if I would have been all right if I'd have tied them off at the bottom or something before.
If you had bicycle clips on, you might have managed.
Yes.
Right. Oh, what a shame.
Yes.
What a shame. So are the jeans dead to the world now? Did they have to go?
I can't remember whether I slung them out or kept them or washed them or something. I know they went in the bath for a while, but
right. So they may be savable, but you might need a bit of detergent in the bath.
Oh, this was a while ago. This was a long time ago.
Okay, right. Well, I'm glad you're feeling better. Anything else then, Tony?
No, well, I've got a broken heart.
Oh no! Why? What happened? What's happened to your heart?
Splitting up with my woman, with Hazel, my wife.
Oh, I'm so sorry, man.
If you're listening, Hazel, give us a buzz. I'm still here.
Right.
I was listening to Band of Gold, Frida Payne earlier this evening, and that set me off.
No, there's
it's
plenty.
Just sometimes you don't want to let go.
I understand.
You know.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, did she choose to go, or was it mutual? It doesn't sound mutual here.
Sort of mutual, but
you
is it Alan Robinson?
Funnily enough, it is. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, I got it right this time.
That's good. Right.
Yeah, it was sort of mutual. Yes, she gave me my ring back. I got my ring back, and I give it back to her.
Right.
And the staff. I was in hospital. You know the section, one of my many sections.
Right.
And the ring which I had, I gave it back. I gave it to this lad.
Right.
Because I didn't want to keep it. So I haven't got a wedding ring now. So she'll still have hers. But what a mess human relationships can turn into sometimes.
No, that's absolutely true. You never know. You never know what's around the corner.
People out of it. Sorry, Alan.
That's all right. You never know what's around the corner, mate. That's for sure.
That's true.
Do you think there is any chance for the pair of you to get back together?
I think hope springs eternal. There's always a chance. Yeah.
Absolutely. Hey, well, good luck to you. Thank you for coming on, Tony. Thanks.
Bye for now.
You're welcome. Oh, what a shame. Been through the mill a bit. And before you start judging that problem when the floodgates open, there's nothing can stop that kind of stuff going on. The only thing is that, of course, on the Night Owls program over the years, we seem to have heard more stories about it than pretty much you get anywhere. But we're glad that he called. He was a first timer too. Other things that are ugly. Well, you can't deny that Storm Arwen was indeed an ugly thing. And Julie, I think from Darlington, wants to talk about that very thing. Hello, Julie.
Hi, Alan.
Hello there.
Hi, how are you? You all right?
I'm very well. Thank you for coming on. What can we do for you then, Julie?
All right, I just, yes, as you were saying, Storm Arwen, I woke up after the in the morning, after the storm, to discover that my entire yard back wall had been blown into the lane, plus half of next door as well.
So what was it made? Was it made of? Was it a wood fence or was it like a brick fence?
Brick. It was brick with like double wood gates, and it just completely flattened the whole lot.
Not good. So I presume you've still got the gap now, because a lot of people that have had damage, they just can't get anybody to fix it because of the time of year it is.
Well, you can't get a build. I mean, I had a few quotes, but it was hard at first to get a builder. But because it's such a big job, I have had interest,
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, what a nightmare! So, I mean, what were you doing while the storm was storming? I mean, were you aware that the wall had gone, or did you just find that the following morning?
I just found it, Alan. I must have slept right through it. But my neighbours heard the bang.
Right.
One of my neighbours said she heard and thought it was burglars and, you know, this, that and the other. So I just, like, I heard nothing. I just got such a shock. When I woke up, I was looking at first and I was, in fact, you know, at first when you're a bit confused, I'm like, that's not what I normally see when I look out the kitchen window, you know. And then I realised, I thought, oh no, gosh, never mind.
It's been it was a hell of a storm though, because I had to the day after the storm, I had to drive up to Berwick. And Berwick was hammered and ships smashed against rocks and seals bashed to death and caravans sucked out to sea. I mean, what a storm it was. I can't remember one as bad as that. And even trees that are like 30, 40, 50 years old, you can see them lying with their roots all kind of pulled up. It's all over the place. So, hey, good luck.
Yeah.
How are you with your neighbour? I mean, does your neighbour... do you mind your neighbour at all? Or?
No, he's fine.
He's all right, is he?
No problems. We'll get it sorted out. But,
at least nobody was hurt. That's the main thing, you know.
Well, that's the good thing, because the surveyor, the surveyor from the council came out to make it safe and everything, and said if it hit anyone, they would have been killed.
Sure.
Really. So if anyone had been, but fortunately, no one was daft enough to go out in the storm. But going on from, last week, I know it was last week, but we're talking about famous people that you'd seen or met. I can trump the lot, Alan.
Yeah.
Nelson Mandela. How about that?
You've trumped us all. That's disgraceful. How dare you? I'm glad you didn't ring last week. We wouldn't have had any. How did you meet Nelson Mandela?
I didn't actually meet him, but you said you could say people who you'd seen as well. What happened was, I went, nothing happened, but I was at the concert in London when he got out of prison, so obviously I have seen him.
Right. So the Free Nelson Mandela concert, when he was freed, he made an appearance, didn't he? That's right.
I think he made an appearance at the end.
That's
right.
Right.
So obviously, I mean, I was only young. I wasn't taking a great deal of notice, to be honest. I mean, I knew it was,
a good thing.
Special event and everything like that.
Yeah. No, that's pretty damn
didn't
special.
Realise.
That's pretty.
I kind of didn't realise at the time how special it was, but I do now.
Bit of history. Hey, well done. Thank you very much for coming on, Julie. Great to hear from you. Thanks for ringing in.
All right.
Take care.
You.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
The stars come out at night. And this time, it's Neil Shern from Journey.
Ever seen a ghost or had a strange spooky anything in your life?
Yes, I have actually, and it's a wild story. And if you ever talk to anybody else that was in the band from the Perry era, like Jonathan Cain or anybody else, they'll tell you the same thing.
What happened?
We were upstate New York, and we were working with mixing actually a few songs with Bob Clearmountain, and that was the studio he was working in.
Right.
And it was a farm studio. And apparently in the ground were, a lot of old souls, Indian souls that were died there. And so I'd heard all kinds of stories about this place, about it being haunted. And I just thought it was a load of crap. And I just never believed in it. And I said, fine, they had all these different houses that surrounded the main farm area and where the studio was. And I said, stick me in the most haunted one. I don't believe any of this. And so I went out there, and it had snowed that night. It was about 2 feet of snow. And I remember walking out there, and there was no, footprints, nobody going up to the front door except for mine. And so I walk in, I see this one trail of mine, going in there. And I'm getting ready to go to bed. I've been up with the guys. We've been drinking, carrying on like idiots. And, and I'm well drunk, and I'm going up, and I'm sort of staying in this loft above. And I go up there, and I'm kind of like I'm hearing things, and things are kind of feeling weird, like I'm feeling the presence of somebody. And so I decide I'm going to go downstairs, and there was this window that was like half open with the drapes, which let like the moonlight come in a bit. It was snowing out. And I remember I sat down in a chair for whatever reason, and I lit a cigarette. And I'm sitting there and I'm smoking a cigarette, and I blow out this puff of smoke. And when I blew this puff of smoke out with the light that was coming through the window, I saw this thing walk by me, you know, and it was an actual, like, I was like, didn't believe it. So I just sat there and kept smoking a cigarette, and it kept walking back and forth. And once in a while you could see, almost tell that the head was moving over and looking at me. And then by the time I finished the cigarette, I'm just sitting there and I'm kind of like in shock, not scared, but in shock of what I just witnessed, you know? And I put the cigarette out, and the ghost just turned around, walked straight out, like through the door. And then about, 2 minutes after it left, I went looking outside the door, and I saw footsteps leaving, the place I had walked in where I hadn't left yet.
Right.
And everybody else experienced even worse. I mean, that was like a friendly ghost. Nothing happened weird at all. It was just an experience that I believed in ghosts now. I saw one. And so, but Jonathan was in another house staying, I believe, with Ross, and they said someone was in between the walls, beating on the wall, trying to get out of the wall. And they actually had, an Indian like witch doctor come in the next day and light the sage and do the whole ceremony to make the spirits just chill out. It was wild, man. Everybody left there, and it's like every time my hairs are standing up right now on my arm. Every time I talk about it, my fur stands up on my arms.
Yeah, perfect. A ghost story for Christmas.
Yeah, look, because this used to be where the customs house was, where people from all of the boats, remember, tall ships, right the way along here, they would have to come in and declare what their cargoes were. And there's been many a fight and many a bust up, because sometimes if you slid the customs people a few tanks of rum, few coins, they didn't even go to the boat and check it. If you didn't, they were on that taking it. So to say they were all good guys is not true. Anyway, along we go. I nearly just walked in that alley because it had a roof on it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, because the roof there. Keep it dry. Not many people sitting outside tonight in the chair.
No. Can't blame them. My fingers feel like they want to fall off.
It's a bit cold. Oh God, look at that alley. Dear me. That's a scary one.
What's that?
That alley there.
Another alley.
Oh my God.
I don't have a story for it.
Look at that.
They look like alleys in New York City, don't they?
Don't they?
You expect some gangsters doing a deal down there. I would imagine there probably has been.
I was going to say, the local mafiosa.
Right. The law courts. But first of all, Spillers. Spillers?
Yeah. Which is the Baltic.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Spillers.
There.
That's it there. Light it up, Terry, if you can.
You can dramatically lower the chances of a burglary by protecting your home with a Very Sure smart alarm. Right now, we are offering a discount of 50% off the installation of our monitored alarm system. And for a limited time, we are also offering free installation of the award-winning Arlo video doorbell. Click the blue button below to start your quote now and see why Verisure is the fastest growing alarm company in the UK. Statistics show that a burglary happens every 106 seconds in the UK. And did you know that almost 50% of residential burglaries happen when somebody's at home? Our 306...
Oh, yeah.
Spillers has always been the tallest milling company anywhere in the world. 36,000 tons coming from that in a year. But that was about 1895, I think they came. I want to take you back 15 years before that, because exactly where the Baltic is now, it's a museum. It's a lot of different stuff. That's really nice. And one of the best views of the Tyne.
Yeah.
There's a little balcony halfway down, and you can see all the bridges along it. Spillers wasn't there. Spillers decided they were going to build 3 massive mills, this being the biggest one in the world, as I've said. They were making a fortune. But before that, there was a massive coal plant there and staves, so the boats could pull up, open up their decks, pour all the coal in it, and then take it to Scotland, to the south, to Europe. Tons and tons and tons of coal. And they did that for over 100 years. However, Geordie Carr, ever heard of Geordie Carr?
I haven't, no.
Geordie Carr, he was one of the guys that guided the coal into the decks of the ship. And a lot of these ships were very deep, so it took a lot of coal, and they were very long, kind of like tankers of their day. So, Geordie Carr, bless him, he realized that there was a bit of wood, like a wood panel, had fallen in, stopping the coal fully getting in. So he said, I'll sort it. He climbed down, he got this bit of wood, he knocked it back. As soon as he knocked the wood back, all of the coal from the delivery of the ship, was a chute in, piled on top of him. And it was something like 150, 200 tons of coal. And what the owner did was just, if I have to take that out of there, you'd have to do it by hand.
Yeah.
And it would take however long it was going to take, days probably. So the owner said to his people, say nothing, let's fill the ship and get it on its way. And when they did that, at the end of the shift, his wife eventually came knocking and said, where's Geordie gone? The owner said, well, I haven't seen him. Has any of the guys seen him? They haven't seen him. His ghost is said to walk around the base of Spillers now.
Right.
And there's a rhyme that was written about it. Some people say it was turned into a song. Haven't heard the song, but I've read the poem. It's just a 2-liner. It goes, he put the slack in the belly of the boat. He was never seen again except for his ghost. Right? And that's the story of Geordie Carr from Spillers. The reason that I've stopped here is, remember me telling you about that boat that used to come up from Seaburn?
Mm-hmm.
It came along when it got to Howden, which is just up there. Excuse us. When it got to Howden up there, it was a wave kind of similar to what we've got tonight, a high tide. So when the boat came up, the tide at the moment is going down, isn't it? It's going out. So the tide's going out. Back then, the tide was coming in, and it had rained like this, so it was pouring in. It tipped the boat up at Howden. And all of the people in the water, 3 of them climbed out. The captain of the little boat, 2 of his men, and 1 person managed to get out of the river at Howden. 7 young girls were travelling up here to go to a private school. They all died, and they were washed up just here, whereas this is Sandgate.
Yeah.
What would happen if we just stared at somebody having some food? Do you think they'd give us a? Do you think they'd give us a chip or something? Grrr. Oh dear. Right, Sandgate. Take a look at it. Obviously, the great courts are here, and don't know whether you've ever been in there for any bad purpose, Kenny.
I have.
Have you?
Not, but yeah. Jimmy Five Bellies when he went to court for chasing someone with a gun.
Oh dear Lord!
And he got jailed.
Can I just say that I'm not sure my notes are going to be of any use to me at all tonight. I just wanted to make sure that I didn't miss any. Sandgate, Yeah, the flooding. I didn't mention the flooding. I mentioned the drownings, and then it's Martha. So, shows you how waterproof this coat is, mind. If everything in my pockets is soaking, that's not good. Right. So, the flooding here. You know, we talked about how the River Tyne rose and flooded, and all the boats came up. Well, the flooding also had, you know, the Sandgate is actually a gate called the Sandgate. It used to be here, across this road, and every night King James I ordered that the gate be closed because 29 people died in the flooding up here. So they ordered that every night all of the gates, and those 3, had to be closed to stop the river. So it was the best they could manage to avoid people getting drowned in their homes. Anyway, up we come.
Isn't there a song about the Sandgate?
There's the Keel as well.
Yeah.
The Keel is a famous song.
The Keel, my laddie's on. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to keep my phone in my. I was thinking, can I keep it in my wet pocket, or is it better in my jacket? Oh, decisions. It's
not
good. Can I be wrong? Whatever I do. Right. So up here, head of steam. Of course, everybody loves the head of steam. Champion. Broad chair. You were talking about chairs before. Heading up in this direction, we've got another amazing story. A sad one too, really. It's about a woman called Martha Taylor, I believe her name was. And she's known as the Quayside Silky. Martha Wilson is her name. And I'm going to have to try and remember everything that I've got in my notes, which is a nightmare, especially today. Martha Wilson, come here and I'll show you the area where she lived once. But back in the old days, this wasn't quite as dynamic as it is now. If you look in, it's been modernized, there's restaurants and that kind of thing. However, back in the day, there were tenements up here on both sides of the road, all the way to the top.
0191 488 3188.
This is Night Owls.
Okay, time for your first clue. Got a prize for you tonight. If you can prove yourself to be a bit of a greatest hit musical genius, I'm going to give you 4 clues. Each clue is a song title, and then at the end, when you've got 4 clues answered, tell me who had a hit with all 4 songs. That's our competition. The first clue is this. What you're doing when the television's on and A Touch of Frost, Sherlock Holmes, Luther, Columbo, Line of Duty, when any shows like that are on TV, okay? What you're doing when any of those shows are on TV. That will give you a song title. What song title is that? Dawn Flockton's just sent a thing in saying, "Hi, Alan. Please give a shout out to Ward 19 at the... It says Freeman Hospital. Yes, Freeman Hospital. It could have been Fenham Hospital, but there isn't one there, so it has to be Freeman Hospital. Thank you for their help and kindness, Ben. Lovely with me, Dawn Flockton." There you go. So not a proper sentence, but I hope it made sense to somebody. And 1 clue down, 3 more clues to go. You'll be surprised at how quickly on this show the time flies. And we're over to South Shields next, where we find Steve. Hiya, Steve.
Hi, Alan. What should I say, Paul?
No, I think I'll stick to Alan for the more. Anyway, thank you very much for joining us. What can we do for you, Steve?
Well, I was talking to you last week. I got slightly shut down too quick because you were in a rush.
Right.
I was saying, what do you think about this coronavirus and what have you last week?
Yeah.
Because for the second time with booking, I've got tickets for White Snake.
Right. Fingers crossed. Yeah.
Aye, yeah. So I thought to myself, am I going to see them this year or not?
Oh, I hope so. I really hope so.
And I know you're a bit of a fan as well.
Massive, absolutely.
He's fantastic.
Love
anyway,
David. He's a good man.
The reason I wrote up tonight is the sad news about John Miles.
Oh, I know. Heartbreaking. Heartbreaking.
It's absolutely devastated us.
Yeah, that's awful.
I've had it on the laptop for years, just keep picking out tracks because he's done a lot with the Philharmonic Orchestra.
Absolutely. Now I remember a thing that he did, and I'm fairly sure it was in Scandinavia, where an orchestra played music, and John Miles then all of a sudden made a guest appearance. Like one of these flash mob kind of things. And it was absolutely amazing. Get yourself on YouTube and check that out. No, he was a lovely guy. I met him very, very early. I made a charity record with him as well. He was a superstar. I love John. And the best thing about it, he was a proper, down-to-earth, solid fella. He was a good man, John Miles. A real decent man.
A northern lad.
Absolutely. Well, Jarrah, I think he was born.
Jarrah, aye. It's just up the road from me, but he lived in Bolton.
That's right. Yeah. No, I remember very early days when, before he'd ever had a hit, he wasn't even signed to Decca. He was on a little label called Orange, and he brought out the best version of a rock song that should have been a rock classic, like Paranoid or Black Knight or any of those kind of things. He brought a song out called Hard Road. Well, it's a long, hard road that I travel. And it was brilliant. And I was thinking, breakthrough. This is his hit. Never happened. Damn shame. Some of his songs back, he was trying loads of different styles to see which one would get him there, and none of them managed until, obviously, High Fly, I think, was the first one that really did it for him. He had Slow Down, and I know everybody talks about music, but he had a lot of great tracks.
The Fella in the Cellar.
Yeah, there you go. And on top of that, of course, he played with Tina on a tour too, which is incredible to be in a band with somebody like that. He was just a great player, wasn't he, though? He was a great player.
And Jimmy Page.
Yeah, absolutely.
Outrider.
Yeah, that's right.
Mind, I've been looking for the blogs and all that. I thought you would have seen something of Jimmy Page, He's been working with him.
Yeah, it's just a shame. There's too few genuine rock stars in the first place, really solid, decent blokes. And you could, if you were going into the trenches with anybody, to have a John Miles by your side, you'd be doing pretty damn well.
Hey, you'd be safe, wouldn't you?
Absolutely. He was a superstar. What a shame. It was a great shame. Love to his family as well, if they're listening. Awful. Anything else then, Steve?
Well, one other thing I was going to try and tell you the other week.
Go on, you got time, go for
it. I've told you millions of times. You know who I am. I was the one that lost my wife. And,
yes. No, I know who you are, Steve.
Yeah. And you know that I keep chickens.
I do.
You remember?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I got a phone call, and I was out pretty late with my dog one morning because I've got a bad back, so I'll have to walk slow.
Right.
And when I got in, there was about 10 calls on my mobile, both my daughter and my son.
Right.
I thought, I don't know who to ring first. I rang my daughter first. I said, what's all these phone calls? She says, Dad, your allotment's been broken into.
Oh, no.
They've stole all your tools, everything, including your log burner.
Oh, no.
So they'd stole me fire. They'd stole, because I had a still saw, for chopping up bits of concrete and stuff.
Right.
It was off when I was working.
Yeah.
I had numerous things had just gone walkabout, including brand new generator. So it's just like the protocol to let everybody know that they're about.
Absolutely. I mean, was this like an allotment or a shed or where was it?
It was in my shed, but it's an allotment which is fended off by two steel gates.
Right. Right.
But some clot hadn't shut one of the steel gates. So
right.
Then a fortnight later, they came back. But they didn't have to hit me. They came back, and there's an association now for the gardeners and what have you.
Yeah.
They've got a big metal porta cabin.
Right.
They came back with oxyacetylene gear and burnt the lock out and stole 20 grand's worth of tools out of it.
Unbelievable.
So it's obviously the pikeys, you know.
Yeah, but the bottom line with it is that the people who put all of that stuff together, and the reason that people have allotments is to save themselves money when it's hard to find. And you gather the tools over the years, and some scrote comes and just whips the whole lot, and they'll sell it for coppers. You know, that's
pennies. I mean, the amount of effort to go into, if they had to get a job, they would turn around and say, "Oh, I'm not doing that. What for that money?"
It'd be less effort to work.
Then they would go and smash somebody's shed in and all that, steal all their tools.
Yeah. And then end up with like a tenner in their back pocket for the sake of it all. You know, it's
aye.
Thousands of pounds worth of misery.
The way I worked it out is they must have had a really big van. And on the second occasion, and they backed it up to this porta cabin with the burning gear in the back, burnt the lock out, filled the van. There was still stuff there that they couldn't get in the van that left.
Right.
Which was of value.
Uh-huh.
But they must have thought, right, well, we're getting what we came for.
Right.
So
it's just disgusting, the whole thing. I hate the fact that hard-working people lose to these morons that don't have the capability of doing. You know, the bottom line is people who have allotments and stuff are working with their hands to save themselves a little bit of money. They're paying annually for the privilege to do it. And then people come along and just spoil it for everybody. And the worst thing about this is, and this is a bee in my bonnet, you know, when you watch these TV programs about the police coming out and capturing people who do, they'll capture the people that do this, that have had like 5 grand's worth or 20 grand's worth of tools that they've taken away, and they'll get a caution, or they'll get 3 weeks with 40 hours community service. Lock the beggars up.
On the beach or something.
Put them in prison. If they're thieves, put them in prison. Stop acting as you're almost encouraging them when you don't give them punishment for what they're doing.
Do you know what it is, Alan? I never even bothered ringing the police. Saying they'll give us a piece of tape. That's not going to be any good to me.
Crime number and walk away.
Crime number, and I'll never hear about it again. Well, I mean, the point is, I mean, I'm down to a rotten time as it is every year, thinking about our lass, and then I'm going in and saying, "Oh, my stuff's stolen." I thought, why doesn't just people just leave me alone?
Absolutely. It's all that anybody wants. I'm so sorry to hear it, mate. Steve, thank you very much for calling, mate. Awful, man. Bye-bye. Good people getting damaged and hurt and stuff stolen. No excuse for it ever. And why don't the police and the judiciary send people to prison anymore for this kind of stuff? You know, they'll catch them and they'll say, you've got 9 thefts taken into consideration. So they get less of a sentence because they're admitting to 8 more. You should get 8 times the sentence for admitting to 8 more. Anyway, let's have another superstar because it's Christmas. It's Christmas. Let's have some Shaking Stevens. Well, you know what song's coming up, but let him tell you his story about that fan. Anybody that's been on stage for 5 minutes has got a weird fan story. The fan that crossed the lane and went too far or woke up in your bed one night. So what's the Shaking Stevens weird fan story there?
Well, you know, I can tell the story. You just remind me of one, really. We were actually playing in Cardiff. It was in Cardiff, hometown. And we arrived at the gig, and so they showed me to the dressing room and went in there and hung the coat up and the clothes and stuff like that. And they were getting ready for the sound check and basically I went down to have a sound check, and I came back, and came back, and I started. It was longer than I thought, so I started getting dressed, putting a bit of stuff on and stuff like that.
Right.
And obviously, as I was sitting on a chair, this head came out of there was like a bed in there. I don't normally have a bed. Why they put a bed in, I don't know really, but there you go. And this female's head come underneath the bed, and she said, "Hello." Hello. I was really shook up, you know. And then as it happened, my partner came in soon. She said, "What the hell are you doing? Get out now!" And yeah, they can't push it. How she got in, I don't know really. I think the security obviously was pretty bad. Yeah,
right.
I think, but she got through cameras because she pulled a hat over her head. But that's happened a couple of times actually. When I was in Shepherd's Bush, somebody got through, and she opened the door and said, "Shaggy," and I thought, what, you know, and then how do you get up, you know? So lots of things like that has happened.
This is what happens when you're a babe magnet. That's the thing. Doesn't happen to us mere mortals.
Okay, hi, this is Shakin' Stevens talking to Alan Robson on Night Owls.
Let's hope it stays that way. Right.
Very cold though.
It's freezing. Live theatre. We love the people of the live theatre. They're good folk. And we're going this way. We're going this way.
We can get up them stairs, can't we? Or can we?
Yeah, we can get up those stairs, but we have to go around
right.
to get onto a place called Pandon Bank.
Right.
The story of Martha's really, really super sad. She lived in a tenement over this way, and her husband had a really good job, and she loved him very much. She said she came from really super poor upbringing, and her husband was quite a wealthy man. So when she met him and fell in love, she couldn't believe that a guy that had that much money would fall in love for somebody that was normal and poor and literally didn't have to pay in. So loved him to bits, but she was only married about 3 years, and then cholera came to town, and we talked about the amount of muck and rubbish running through the streets. Cholera caught on real fast, took a lot of lives. So come on down here. Now, if you can imagine, if you go looking at old photographs of Newcastle, you can see a lot of the tenements coming down the chairs.
Yeah.
And people in long dresses, very, very poor, loads of kids running around.
Yeah. Always look grey and dirty, doesn't it?
That was the reality of the time. It was mucky and nasty. Now, I'm hoping that it's up here one way. I believe it is. Yes, it is. Right. So all we've done is come around in a bit of a circle. But this is where it was. This is Pandon Bank. And incredible stories of Pandon. There was one about a woman called Threve, Margaret Threve. And what she did, she was working in a workhouse where you got a certain amount of money for sewing or for making items. And for that, she was allowed to live there. However, this Margaret woman had 2 children. And I'm talking right here on the edge of Pandon Bank being this bit here. Now, back in Roman times, this was called Pandemum. Right. And there was a gate here called Severus's Gate, and it was the gateway into the city for outsiders to get into Newcastle proper. There was a huge gate here during the Civil War. They pulled it to pieces because you got to remember it was all about, a lot of it was about religion, like a lot of these things are. Yeah. So this Margaret woman, suddenly nobody saw kids. And they said, what's happened? What's happened to the bairns? Where the bairns are? And she said, oh, they've gone to live with me ex. And he's living in South Shields. So they went to South Shields looking for the kids. Nobody could find them. And they says, oh, if my husband doesn't want to be found, he'll not be found. Well, then they found the husband. no bairns. So the authorities came here to either that building there, which of course was a tenement, or that building there that was a tenement. It was either side. It was at the very, very bottom of Pandon Bank. And when they broke in, before they broke in, frankly, they could smell that there was an issue. There was a horrific stench. They kicked the door in, and when the sight that they saw apparently made some of the police officers throw up, because there were flies everywhere, there were rats chewing away on the decomposing corpses of her 2 children, filth everywhere, and the woman just sitting in it, thinking this was normal. She had a candle, she was reading a book, as if none of that mattered. And that happened right here. And there's supposed to be the ghosts of those 2 young children. One was 8-year-old, a little boy, and a 5-year-old little girl here on Pandon Bank. So we're getting a few stories told. Pandon Bank. Got to tell you about so many other things too on our way, if we possibly can.
At least it stopped raining a little bit.
A little bit. We're getting a little bit better there.
It is freezing right now.
It is not nice at all.
It wasn't so bad at the start, but now it is absolutely freezing.
This is also a place that up here, where one of the restaurants is, used to be called the Hall of the Barber Surgeons. And I think that might be it, you know, might be the Silk Room.
Yeah.
There used to be a really big, huge building here called the Hall of the Barber Surgeons. And this is a bit like, you know, whenever you see a cowboy film,
yeah,
somebody's poorly, where do they go?
Those went to the barbers for some reason.
The barbers, because the barber was a doctor and a dentist and everything. And the barber surgeons were, it wasn't like you go to a doctor, because poor people couldn't afford to go there anyway. We have to double back just a little way to one building that's up here. I'm fairly sure it's up here. Yes, it is up here. So anyway, the Hall of the Barber Surgeons, just there. And they taught people how to pull teeth, how to cut hair, how to deliver babies, how to operate on people when the amount of knowledge they had about it was slim to non-existent. And yet, barbers all over Britain were taught the same way by the same people. And these folk had huge amounts of power. And how did they get rich, and how did they get the power that they got?
Money.
Money.
Yeah,
where did the money come from? Well, money from all the poor people. You want a tooth pulled? I haven't got any money, but I could give you a cow.
Yeah, barter.
Paching, we'll have that. And they made a fortune. However, down here, isn't Trinity House down here? Yes, there it is. That's it there, isn't it? Trinity House. Now, let me just give these surgeons an even worse name. Because what they said was that for every person that they laid out, they got something like 7 shillings.
What's the easiest way to get in touch with nature? Do you just head into the woods? Live off the land?
Right. Doesn't sound much, but when there's people dying left and right and cholera's in town,
yeah,
they were ka-chingy, ka-chingy, ka-chingy. And there's a phrase, and my notes are screwed, so I'll try and remember it as best I can. What they said about it was that...
This is real-life conversation with the voice of the North.
This is Night Owls with Alan Robson.
Call 0191 488 3188.
Greatest Hits Radio.
Okay, we have 1 clue down. We have 3 more to come. And, of course, we want to talk to the most important people on the planet, and that's you lot. So pick up your telephone, give me a ring, and we'll talk about stuff. Must mention this before we go any further. Neil sent this in about an hour ago. Alan, this is an ugly story. That's what we wanted. The job interview beckoned, says Neil, at 9:30 a.m. was my appointment. So as I got up early, I got myself spruced up, showered, nice clean shave, suit and tie on, and a little bit breakfast. I felt okay. A little nervous, but okay. So as I was pulling into the office car park where my interview was being held, I let one go. As I said to myself, better out than in, as I thought, until I felt something warm and damp on my underneath. Yes, it was a wet one. So in horror, why people want to tell me this stuff is beyond me, but thank you, I suppose. It says, so in horror, I ran over to Primark, bought a pair of trousers in a blazing hurry. I cleaned myself up in the toilets. I made the interview with 5 minutes to spare. And 3 days later, I received a phone call to let me know I was successful. Can you believe it? I will never forget that traumatic experience. Neil from South Shields. Well done, Neil. Question. Did you keep the trousers and wash them? Or did they go in the bin? Because it's suit trousers. Temptation is scrapey, washy, wary. 01914 488 3188. And also another quickie. Tony's been on, trusty taxi driver. He says, Alan, I picked up Carol Vorderman a few weeks ago, and she was lovely, wicked sense of humour, and very pretty. She is surprisingly attractive, Carol Vorderman. I met her when I was doing my stint at the Great North Run, when the entire Countdown crew always did that. And George from Concerts come on to tell us a way to remember how to spell diarrhea. Because, in all honesty, I have written diarrhea in numerous blogs, podcasts, books even, and I've always had to look it up. And you've got to remember a phrase, and it spells diarrhea. Diarrhea is always really, really horrible on everyone's ass. There you go. That's how you spell diarrhea. Diarrhea is always really, really horrible on everyone's ass. And if you remember the rhyme, that's fine. But you know that somebody's going to add another word into that somewhere. It's going to happen. But George, thank you very much. It is some way of remembering how to spell an impossible word. Sarah is with us now. Don't worry, Sarah. I shall not mention diarrhea. Hi, Sarah.
Hi, babe.
Hello. How you doing?
I'm all right. I'm a little bit stressed at the minute.
Oh, what's the matter? What's happened?
Well, do you know me next door neighbour, Gillian?
Right.
Do you know her?
I don't know whether I know her or not.
Well, you probably do, but do you know what? I think I love her.
You think you love her?
Aye.
Right. How did this come on then? How did you find out?
Because, I've lived in this house for 2 years.
Right.
Uh-huh. And I hope my partner isn't listening, right?
Yeah, would
don't let him know, right?
Okay, I'll not say anything. Yeah, keep me myself.
Please don't, because it's really, I'm getting stressed about this situation.
Okay.
Right. So, do you know what? So she lives next door, and I've lived here for 2 years.
Right.
And she comes over all the time, and every time she comes over, I look at her and I think, oh, Gillian, please come and be together. I think that in my head.
Right. I mean, is she with anybody?
Yes, she's got a husband.
Right. So could you not just be really good friends rather than anything more than that? Or do you really need a bit more than that, do you?
I need more than that, because she comes over, right, and she wears Aunt Summer's silky clothing.
How can you see it? I mean, does she come across semi-clad?
No, because she comes over and it's got silky stuff, the dressing gowns and that.
All right, yeah. She just comes over in a dressing gown.
Aye, and you can see everything, and I'm thinking, oh, bloody hell, I'm getting a little
tingles.
Bit of a wind up on. Yeah.
Yeah, would you not miss a bloke though? Because blokes have got extra bits.
Nah, I don't want them.
You don't want the extra bits, right? Okay. I mean, first of all, the thing you should really do, if you're genuine about this and you don't want your partner anymore, let them, and it's not a great time of year to do it, but let them know that surely they'd rather know the truth. Yeah.
She's got a partner who she's been with for years, and I don't want to go in there and break up that family. And then my partner, I'm not bothered about upsetting him, but it's about because I've only been with him for like nearly 2 years.
Right.
But if I go next door and break her marriage up, it's not really a marriage because she's not married, but she's been with them for like 30 years.
Right.
So if I go over to her and tell her this, break her marriage up, they're going to, then it's going to be an issue with that family.
Yes, but
so what do I do?
Has she given any sign that she likes you more than just likes you as a neighbour and a friend?
Yes.
How?
She comes over and she puts like curls in my hair.
Right, but isn't that what girls do? I mean, you don't have to be partners to do that. Girls, you get a group of girls together before a night out. They're sorting each other's hair out. They're helping with the makeup. Da-de-da. That's what you girls do. You're tribal.
No, because she comes over here and she says, I got some clothes I can borrow.
Right.
So I say, well, come and look at my wardrobe, and I like give her this the stuff I've got. I give her them.
Yeah.
And she goes, oh, it looks better on you than me.
Well, that's somebody being complimentary, but doesn't mean she wants to kiss your face off.
I think she's trying to give me a hint. I think she loves me, but she won't admit it.
Yeah, but what if she loves you just as a friend, though?
She doesn't, because she looks at me boobs all the time.
Right, well, then might be worth looking at. And, I mean, it doesn't matter whether you're male or female. If you've got part of your body that's attractive, people are going to look at it. That's what happens.
She looks at me boobs all the time. I don't know what to do.
Well, you have a conversation with her in private and say, I've got some strong feelings for you. But ideally talk to her at a level that more than dogs would understand. That would be helpful.
What I say, like, every time you come in the house, you seem to look at me boobs. You don't look at me face. And I can't do it anymore.
Right, well, I mean, you got to have a conversation.
I don't want to break a marriage up. Do you know what I mean?
Don't break a marriage up. You just have a conversation with her. And you say, I think the world of you, It's really great having you as a neighbour, and see what she says from that. She might say what you want to hear, or she might say, yeah, you're one of your best neighbour we've ever had. We've ever had.
I love her, you know what? But I fancy the pants of her.
Right, well, I hear that. But it may well be that she is very happy with her man.
She's not.
How do you know?
Because she's told me, and I hear them arguing all the time.
Right, but you're not prepared
all the time to the walls. And I'm thinking, well, you're not happy because you're arguing constantly through there. So when you come here,
I know, but
you want to go out with me.
What you have to remember, though, is firstly, what you're doing in your head is cheating already.
I'm not cheating.
Well, you are. You're telling me that you'd rather be with somebody else. That's betraying your partner.
I want to bin him because I don't want him anymore, and I want to be with her.
Well, tell him.
But I don't want to split their marriage.
Well, but tell him. And maybe if you were on your own, maybe she would think, oh, I'd rather be with her. Maybe she wouldn't, though. That's possible.
Will you ring her, Alan? Will you ring her and just say?
I'm not getting in the middle of this because this is for you to do.
I need help. I don't know what to do.
I feel.
I need to ring Jeremy Kyle on this one.
Well, I hear what you say, but the fact is, you're cheating on your partner, and I'm not going to play. I'm not going to help because I don't like people. Of course you are. You're ringing up behind his back saying you're going to dump him. He doesn't know that.
I'm not cheating on him. I'm just ringing for your advice.
You're betraying his trust, aren't you?
How though? What have I done?
Does he know you want to bin him?
No, he thinks that. I love him.
But you're telling thousands of people across the north that you want to bin him and you'd rather be with a woman next door. Now, that is betraying him. It's betraying his trust. And you shouldn't. If you want rid of him, get rid of him, however, which way you choose to do it, and then see how the land lies.
I know, Alan,
but you see, what I think you're doing is worse because it's like, I'll just keep him on a back boiler until I find out whether this girl's going to be with me. And if not, I'll stay with him like he's second best. That's shabby.
No, Alan.
It's shabby.
Alan, no. Alan, I do love him, right? But I love her more.
I love him, but I want to bin him for the woman next door. You don't love him. You wouldn't dump him if you loved him.
I would though, because I do love her. I've got feelings for both of them. I love them both.
But if she doesn't,
but I fancy women more.
Well, that's not the same. That's not the same, is it?
I think I'm a lesbian, and I don't know how to get it in my head as though to say are you a lesbian or not? Because no one's ever said, are you a lesbian?
But if
I don't know.
if you have feelings for people other than your partner, you should let him down gently and let him get on with his life. Not going to take it any further. That's the deal. But one thing at a time. And if you're with somebody you don't want to be with, you let them down. 0191 488 3188. Now we've got Mark Wilkinson with us next. Mark, I see, is from Northumbrian Water. Hello, Mark.
Hi, Alan.
Hello, mate.
Okay?
Well, welcome to you, and thank you for coming on. I'm just hoping you're not telling me that you're cutting my water off or anything.
No, not tonight.
Thank heavens for that. That's good. No, Sunday, the evening of Laughs for Kids. Very spectacular and very, very special.
Yeah, it's been a great cause, and it's a bit of a shame last year we couldn't do it, but this is the 4th year in a row we've been supporting Laugh for Kids, and it's a really nice event. It's really about making sure kids get a present at Christmas. So we've there's too many people who are struggling, and too many families that kind of have to go without. So this just helps people who've got a little bit of a hard time at Christmas get something special.
No, absolutely. I mean, we've been working on the charity for a lot of years, and what I couldn't believe, because you think, well, surely every child's going to get stuff at Christmas, surely, and even those that are in council accommodations, surely they're going to be looked after too. And you find out that thousands fall through the net every year. And it's great that a company the size of yours is prepared to dive in. You must get asked by tons of different charities, why did you pick this one?
I think it's local. At the end of the day, the company's name is Northumbrian Water. We live, we work in the area. We're anything that's really local is sort of fits with what we want to do.
Right.
This feels like it makes a difference to people who are our customers as well.
Right.
Everyone in the Northeast is a customer somewhere down the line. So anything we can do to help families in the local area, that feels like the right thing for us.
No, absolutely. Every gargle, every flush, you're with us there, Mark. Absolutely.
Absolutely,
no question about it. Now, one question I'd like to ask you that's slightly off the Laughs for Kids topic, and that is because there will be some people that through coming to the end of a furlough and discovering their job's not there, companies closing down, it's tough for an awful lot of people following the whole COVID and Brexit business. It's hard out there. What should people do if obviously they're going to need your services, but money is not easy for them, and maybe they're having trouble? Is there anything that they can do?
Yeah, I mean, we do 2 or 3 different things, Alan. I mean, we've obviously seen over the last 2 years that furlough's ending now, but people have had lost income, job losses, irregular income, I guess, over the last couple of years. So this isn't kind of a new thing now. We've kind of got used to trying to work out how we can do to help people.
Right.
So we offer all sorts of things. So there's short-term payment breaks, 2 or 3 months if people get stuck and just actually have lost their job for a period, or find that they've got no income short-term. We've got a number of financial support schemes where bills can potentially be reduced by up to 50%. So if you're on one of the groups is pension credit, so not necessarily people who are affected by COVID, but if you're on pension credit, we can help you out. If you've got a low household income under about £16,000, again, we can reduce your bill.
Wow.
And there are a couple of other financial schemes. So really, I know we all say this, but if you go onto our website, there's a help page that gives you all the details around those schemes, or just give us a ring, and we can talk those things through with you. And equally, a Facebook page, you can private message through that and get in contact with us.
So when they're going onto the Northumbrian Water website, is there any phrase they should be looking for?
There's help with my bill. It's the easiest
help
way
with
to do
my
it.
bill. Brilliant. It's just that I know a lot of people panic, and especially people of a certain age, when they're getting on, they're very independent-minded at the best of times. They want to manage, and instead of reaching out for help, they quite often, well, I'll just not have any heating. I'll just not have as many baths. I'll just not use the water quite. Do you know what I mean? It's difficult for them to realise that out there is help for them.
Yeah, and one of the other things you mentioned, people reduce their usage.
Sure.
We find a lot of people can save money on a water meter, but we do think people are scared about meters. So, people tend to think of a meter and utilities as a key meter that you have to top up.
Right.
Our water meters are just literally to measure how much water you use. So if you have a water meter, you may well save money. There's a nice calculator on the website, which you can put your details in, and it'll tell you whether they think you'll save for your particular household.
Brilliant.
The good thing about that is if you're on a fixed rate bill and you move to a meter, you've got 2 years to work out if it's the right thing for you. If it isn't, you can move back.
All right. No, I think a lot of people think once I've leapt, then I'm stuck if I'm not happy with it. But that's not true. Well, that's good to know.
No, if you move into a house and there's no meter there already, and you've got that fixed bill, you can choose yourself, and you've got that 2 year period. It's a little bit different if there's a meter already there, because some houses obviously had a meter when you move in, and that you haven't quite got the same option there. But if you have got a meter and you're still worried about your bill, plenty of water saving advice, things on the website, things we can do for practical use just to help reduce your bills if you're worried about spending too much.
That's fantastic. Hey, well, thank you, Mark. You flew in like a superhero to help us all. And thanks for supporting Laughs for Kids. It does make a huge, huge difference. Thank you very much for your involvement. And thank everybody else at Northumbrian Water for me, if you would.
Will do. Thanks, Alan. Nice to speak to you.
That's great. Thank you very much indeed. So there you go. All part of Mission Christmas this year. Try and get involved with it if you possibly can. Time now for another superstar to come out at night. It's Chris Rea going on about one of the passions that he has, racing cars. But you were lucky enough, weren't you, to ride at Monza at some point?
Yeah, well, I race every year, you know. I've been racing this year. Thankfully, it's the one thing that all of my illnesses and stuff hasn't interfered with.
Right.
So I'm still able to drive. I'm not very good, but I love it.
What is it about the race itself? Is it the competition? Is it the speed? What is it?
It's a bit like golf. I can hear every motorist going, oh, no. It is a bit like golf in terms of you're playing yourself, really.
Right. And
you're seeing if you can do better than you did last time.
Right.
And it's the same with your lap times. You know, if I say I'm at Mallory Park and I break into the 50 seconds,
right,
I go home the happiest man in the world. And I've only been to Mallory Park, you know.
Right.
But it gets hold of you.
And we're going to be getting hold of one of his great Christmas hits before the hour. But we are talking to one of you immediately after this. Still alive when you reach the surgeon. He'll help you on your way to make a few coins for his back pocket. So if somebody was on the last legs, they wouldn't get out. No. They'd just finish them off, embalm them. He didn't make it, I'm afraid. And a lot of these people genuinely could have been saved. Talking pirates. Oh, there's a pirate story from down here. This is supposed to be haunted. This whole thing here, you know, this area here is supposed to have a couple of ghosts on it. One from a duel back in pre-Victorian. It's kind of 1840, so it is Victorian times. Two people with muskets came out here and they stood on the path. They couldn't do it down here because this was classed as Newcastle. They thought that if they stood in the countryside, it didn't count. So they stood up there with about 20 yards between them. Two of them fired a shot. One of them took the top of somebody's head off.
The necromancer, is this a good place to try it, or?
Well, I think when we get up there, we'll give it a go. Let's just tell you the story from this place, because this is an amazing place to visit. Trinity House. That's it there. I think it's all Trinity House.
It's funny you should mention the barber, because that reminds me of the old joke.
Oh, dear.
So the man went to the barber and he says, right, can you cut me hair like Robbie Williams? And he shaves all his hair off. And he went, he says, Robbie Williams doesn't get his hair all shaved off. He says, just if he comes here.
Oh, ka-ching. This, I believe, is under reconstruction, and it's a Trinity House. Trinity House essentially was the place that made all of the decisions about the port of Tyne back in the day. And there is the ghosts in it. We're told there are. I've looked up the ghosts, various stories of just figures moving around, and it's currently
I'm just looking on the date on that.
Upgraded by the looks of things.
This is part of Deer Street, the old Roman path too. But Trinity House has one story. I found one story that was interesting enough to mention. And it was a guy called Captain Green, and he went sailing to Africa on a trading mission. Now some people say it was the early 1800s, some people say it was the early 1700s. However, whenever it was, Captain Green went, when he came back, he only had like 14 men on his ship. Now, that meant that he lost about 60 of his crew, the vast majority of it. And he came back with this story to say that when they landed in Africa, they tried trading with various tribes on what's now called the Gold Coast. And when they got there, they discovered, to their horror, that they were a tribe of cannibals, and they were eating human flesh and a little bit of white meat. There's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely. So he lost 2/3 of his crew. When he came back, the people at Trinity House said that it was his fault because he sent his men on shore saying that he would come and join them later. And of course, they were hacked to pieces on the beaches. And what they said was that any self-respecting captain would have led his men, and he wasn't even injured because he didn't even go ashore. So Captain Green lost his captaincy. His ship was taken from him. The owners of the ship backed up Trinity House and said, that's it, you'll never work in this area again. You don't.
This is Night Owls on Greatest Hits Radio.
You never know who's going to call next.
0191 488 3188.
Greatest Hits Radio.
And we had a few responses of people's views about our earlier caller who fancied the woman next door. 3 different views. I'm just going to read the 3 of them. It's very fair. The rule of 3 and 5 in broadcasting stands strong. This one's from an anonymous who says, Alan, thanks for sparing our ears. That last woman was a walking red flag. Fake tears, manipulative and narcissistic vibes. Men and women need to spot the signs and walk away from these people. Stay safe. Thank you very much. And then we move on to Anne, who says, Alan, you told her the way it is, but she's not listening. All she has to do is tell the girl how she feels and take it from there. It won't be her alone who breaks up her friend's marriage. It will be her friend's choice if she wants to take it further. Simple. There you go. And the last one is from Paul, who just says, Alan, you have the nicest way of telling people how awful they are. Thank you, I think. Anyway, Colin's next, and he's up South Shields way. Hello, Colin.
Hello, Alan. How are you?
I'm all right, man. Thanks for coming on. What do you want to talk about, Col?
Well, I think your Chris got in touch with us. I put a comment on Facebook, on your Facebook page, about the lockdowns that were looming.
Right. What do you think?
What do you think?
I don't want another lockdown ever in the history of the world, frankly. But and I've never been sure that they've benefited. And it depends who you listen to. If it slowed things down, it certainly hasn't shown, because as soon as we did a lockdown, the figures went through the roof. So I'm not a big fan of the lockdown. Don't know whether any of it makes any difference to how we've behaved as an international society, and there's no way we'll ever find out. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I think the figures for the lockdown are going to be hidden away for a long, long time. We're not going to really get to the truth for probably the next 35 years. The reason why the death toll went up was because they put a lot of infected people who had COVID, a lot of infirm and elderly. They put them from hospitals into care homes. These people died of sedation over COVID. I'm not saying COVID didn't have a part in the deaths, but they were sedated. And that certainly contributed to the deaths, which pushed the figures up, which gave the government a reason to lock us all down, save grandma. You had Matt Hancock sort of saying.
Yeah.
And it's just sort of like snowballed since then, and I just feel like, personally, I feel like our liberties and rights are sort of being eroded daily. The new lockdown that's potentially looming now, I think, is more to cover the government's back.
What do you mean?
And I mean,
explain that.
Well, just the fact that, you know, you have the wine and cheese party last year, and then all of a sudden, you know, Omicron, even though the World Health Organization have turned around and said it's a very, very weak strain of a COVID virus, which happens, COVID virus happens to be a common cold virus as well.
Right.
And I think the fact that they've been caught out with the parties when everyone else was sort of like, you know, socially distanced and couldn't go to pubs. I think it's just all a bit of a smokescreen to sort of like save Boris and his chums, you know, he's eating mess.
You know, politicians have always lied to us. Even the ones we liked, sadly, have ended up lying to us in the worst possible way. Boris seems to lie and doesn't really care much about the fact that right from the very beginning, you know, the Brexit's going to be great. It's a disaster. But don't worry, we're going to give all this money to the NHS. No, he didn't. You know, in every corner there's a huge porky, and the country's worse off for it. And you think, but he's still Prime Minister, and yes, Keir Starmer's doing his best to try and sink his boats and what have you. We are in a Labour Party heartland, or at least we were in the Northeast. And I'm not picking a side because I've never trusted any of them. And I think Tony Blair's Labour Party was the nearest thing to the Conservatives that Labour's ever been in its history. However, I still don't know whether there is a party out there that can save us from the BS, because we seem to be drowning in it at the present moment. And yes, I accept that COVID's a horrible, nasty thing, but should it have been dealt with internationally? Because to me, I think the way that Britain dealt with it, in other words, scream panic, made the rest of the world say, oh, hell's teeth, if they're doing that, we'd better. And then it became like dominoes, and everybody was kind of doing this, playing catch-up, kind of.
Well, it's certainly, you know, I do feel that the press jumped on it, and it's been snowballing ever since. And I do think it's a media-driven thing. Now, if we go to like Patrick Vallance and Whitty, you know, we'll go back 20 years to Foot and Mouth, and their predictions for Foot and Mouth were like to basically lose the national herd of cattle.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the slaughtered so many healthy beasts, and it's the worst case scenario every time. They punch these numbers into a computer, they get a graph, and they go, well, this is the worst case scenario, let's go for that. And it's not necessarily so. So there's a couple of things I want to say to your readers.
Okay.
I want them to just go onto the government website and check out COVID yellow card. Now, there's all sorts of side effects to these vaccines that are damaging people or killing people.
Right.
You know, so there's myocarditis, which is basically the heart muscle.
Right.
So it's attacking the heart muscle. So straight away, if you've got myocarditis, you're compromised.
Sure.
Now, some of these people who are succumbing to, you know, that's just one. There's endocarditis, which is the inflammation of the membrane around the heart. If you're compromised with any of those things, you're going to be put onto the statistics for COVID-19. Because it's, you know, 28 days of death due to COVID. These people are getting vaccines. They're getting laden with a virus, or a dead virus, as they say. Because
so hang on, I hear that, and let people do their own research to that. I've heard a lot of these horror stories before, and I know a lot of people at home have too. So it's untested, and we get all of that. Yeah. How are you getting round this though? Because everybody is pressuring you to get the 3 jabs. Have you had them?
Well, I haven't had. I haven't had any of the jibbly jabbers. I don't do. I won't call it a vaccine, because if it was a vaccine, it would have worked.
Right.
I call it a jab. And the way I do it is I fortify myself with vitamins. I have vitamin D. I have zinc and magnesium.
Right.
I do turmeric and black pepper. And these are all things to fortify your immune system.
Right.
Which I've taken for years. I haven't been to the doctors for over 5 years.
Good man. Just finally, because we're running fast out of time, this part of the show, you said there was a second thing that you wanted to say. Go check out the yellow card. You said, what was the second thing?
Yeah, well, it's basically it's a system called bioterrain, and it's basically what you eat. So if you're eating, crap, if you're stocking up on McDonald's and pot noodles,
right,
you're actually gonna, you're not doing your system any good whatsoever. Now, if you're carrying weight and you happen to come across the virus, you're compromising your natural system to fight that immunity. Because you're a bigger person, your heart doesn't grow any bigger. It does if you exercise, but it doesn't if you're just sort of like, bordering on the obese side. And then you get a respiratory illness, right, which is potentially affecting your lungs, and then you're not pushing that oxygen around, and then your heart is compromised. And put on top of that the fact that potentially, you're compromised from viruses.
Right. No, I hear that. Colin, I must take my leave of you, but thank you very much. I hope you got the bulk of what you had to say out. Thanks for calling. Cheers, mate. Oh, she's gone. 0191 488 3188. Promised you this. Let's have it.
And of course, they were hacked to pieces on the beaches. And what they said was that any self-respecting captain would have led his men, and he wasn't even injured because he didn't even go ashore. So Captain Green lost his captaincy. His ship was taken from him. The owners of the ship backed up Trinity House and said, that's it, you'll never work in this area again. You're done. So he came here in front of Trinity House, in front of, is that Tesco's? Yeah, in front of Tesco's, although Tesco wasn't there at the time. And he got his pistol, flintlock, cocked it, and put it in his ear. Now, weirdly, he fired it at an angle, kind of that way. So he didn't die. He shattered his skull, and the bullet came out the back of his head, and he was lying on the ground, bleeding to death. And it said that the people at Trinity House saw out of the window what he had done, ignored him, and left him on the ground to die, to bleed out. Don't know whether that's true. I'm sure everybody at Trinity House would say, oh, we would never do anything like that because we're lovely people. And I think now they probably are. Back then, you don't know. Because they hated Green, and Green kept pestering them, saying, give me another chance, give me another chance, give me a ship. They didn't give him a ship. They let him die.
I'm amazed that 260 years ago they made that look, for like the rainwater that's gone 1754 on that.
Amazing.
Isn't it? 260 years ago they had all, all that.
Right, well, let's get up here. We'll give the necromancer a dance, if it's still working. If I can ring it out. You see, all of these, they're remnants of the old town.
Yeah, they are. That have never been
You can
changed.
see nobody's done anything with this.
No. Them stairs up there.
Absolutely. Now, don't forget to share, please. We've got a cemetery up and coming too.
Oh, nice.
Oh, dear.
I have no idea where you're going.
I'm going to where those guys had the shootout. Just up here. Careful, it's a bit slippery.
It is a bit.
And there's graves literally just on top of there. Oh.
Oh, nearly went.
Yeah. Hang on. Wish the trees were in leaf. We may have stood a chance of getting. Let's see what we get.
What's that there? Do you know, isn't it crazy how creepy it is here? Literally a stone's throw from the quayside.
Absolutely.
Look at it.
Is there anybody with us? No.
Well, hang on, if they say no. If somebody says no, that means there is.
Is there anyone here with us? Talk to us.
That sounded like George there. I don't know if it sounded like a George.
Light up the buildings for Tony.
Yeah, we'll light these up. You can do that. Okay.
Dog Bank. Do you know why this is called Dog Bank? That's Dog Bank down there, actually.
That is.
I'll tell you that story once we've given this a chance to say something.
Beware uneven walking surface. You're not wrong. Ah, All Hallows Lane.
Yes.
Is that anything to do with Halloween?
Yes.
No way.
Absolutely.
Hallows Lane.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's another name for Akenside Hill.
Right. That is crazy. All Hallows Lane.
I'm hearing voices up here.
The voices, and it's a very strange smell.
Hang on, I'm going to take the necromancer off till we get to the cemetery.
I think that's a good idea.
Because I wanted to hear if those voices were.
A strange smell.
There's an odd smell up here.
What is it?
It's not pleasant.
No.
And these things are, I mean, do you see that?
Slip on them. We'll definitely slip on the way back down. I know we will. Can we not get out that way? See if we're going down there.
I've switched the necromancer off and it's still
going. That's a bit strange. Mine, I can imagine anything happening tonight with this rain getting into everything, mine.
I think there's stuff here.
I think there's stuff here. You get the feeling, don't you?
Speak to us. What's your name? The person I'd like to get up here is called Alice. And I'll tell you Alice's story soon too.
Who's Alice? Who?
Don't get into that.
No.
Speak to us.
I'm interested in Hallows Lane, I must admit.
The woman's voice asking for help in the background here.
Is that weird? What's her name?
What's your name? What's your name?
Did you get that?
What's your name? Lots of whispering.
It is quite
trees
eerie
look
here,
spooky
mate.
here.
Isn't it?
Top of my head's soaking.
Yeah.
It's gone right through me hat. What's your name? I want to talk to the woman. What's your name? What's your name? No, they're not playing. They're not playing. Right, let's get on to Dog Bank maybe. Right, soaking wet and downright nasty. Right, so let's see if we can get down here and we'll walk down. Be real careful. Might
Very careful.
Hold on to the.
Yeah, grab the rail.
It's soaking
Oh
too.
God. This is so slippy.
Yeah.
Tony, be dead careful.
Yeah, be careful, Tor. Look at this.
Now, this house was one of the old houses. You can see how it's been remodernized. They put a bit of modern brickwork in at the far side.
Yeah.
But the rest of it, real old. We're talking hundreds of years old. And what was here? This is the question. What was here in this bit?
God.
Because if you look down, you can see where modern houses are being built. But behind these railings were kennels belonging to some of the rich.
Right.
Because you got to remember, Newcastle wasn't a sprawling city like it is now.
No.
It was quite a tightly packed centre around castle walls. So the rich people had places on the outside of the centre where they could keep their hounds. So they could go and dan divvy, wearing their hunting coats. And it was right here where all of that happened. Dog Bank. Dog Bank has another story from what happened just up here too. And this was not quite so pretty because you're right in the heart of the city. The quayside is how far?
Literally
100 yards.
Yeah,
It's just
that
there.
way. Just there.
And yet, I would bet you that 99% of the people watching this have never been up here.
I've never been here before, ever.
And if you walk along here, you know, we talk about
the voice of the North.
Alan Robson's Night Owls, the phone-in that gets you talking.
Well, we promised you another clue. The first clue, what you're doing when your television's on and on screen there's a touch of Frost or Sherlock Holmes or Luther, Columbo, Line of Duty, CSI, NCIS, all of those. What is it that you're doing, okay? When you're at home and they're on your TV screen. That's a song title that you're looking for. The second song title is this. We're going to test how well you know old movies, because this one is quite an old one. A big Ursula Andress action movie after she walked out of the sea in James Bond's Dr. No. Okay? Very first Bond film. Big Ursula Andress action movie after she walked out of the ocean in James Bond's Dr. No. 2 clues down, 2 more clues to come, and you only need to get 1 clue right, and then you can go back down this band or this artist's hits, greatest hits, of course, and work out what the answers are. You got 2 now, 2 more to come. But the most important part of this show is, of course, talking to you and finding out what's on your mind. Lewis is next. He's in Annan. Hello, Lewis.
Hello, how are you? It's been a while.
No, welcome back. Yeah, Bonnie Scott, what can we do for you?
Yeah, it's been a while. I've just been so busy with uni work, but finally got a break.
Good man. How's it going? Are you doing well?
It's doing well. Yeah, it's going well. I was actually just saying to Chris that I'm getting into radio myself now. So,
oh, great.
Yeah, so I'm currently doing some community work and things like that. So I'll keep you posted on anything there.
Good start. Good luck to you.
Yeah, you never know. Might be the new you in the future.
Well, we would always hope so. So, what do you want to talk about then, Lewis?
Yeah, so I heard the announcement earlier on from Boris about the wanting to increase the booster Jags.
Yeah.
Now, given the events of the past week, I do not trust the government at all. I actually will admit I voted for them, and I now feel slightly stupid for voting for them.
Right.
But I had a bad experience with the booster Jag situation a couple of weeks ago.
What happened?
I don't know if you heard. Yeah, it was reported, certainly up here, that there were a number of people who were getting appointments for booster Jags, but getting turned away. And I think it was something to do with the fact that they said 6 months between your second Jag and your booster.
Right.
But this was lowered to 3 months. But I was still refused. Now, I now that they're saying they want it all done by Christmas, I'm now not sure what my best protocol is. I'm guessing I'm going to have to go into the NHS and say, look, what's... See, I know I'm not the only one who's had this problem, but
sure.
I go home for Christmas in a week.
Right.
So, yeah, so it's a bit concerning, but I say I was a bit annoyed because I had my support workers who helped me get to the bit to do my jag, and it was a waste of their time as well. Oh, we can't give you it. Like, well, why send me an appointment? So
right.
I'm a bit annoyed at the organisation here, and I'm a bit concerned that this will be done by Christmas.
Right, and the pressure has been put on big style by politicians of all parties to make sure that as many people get the third injection as possible, and that's why they're now saying, "Oh, children can have it up to the age of this, that, and the other." Did you have any problem with it? Did it cause you any pain? Were you knocked backwards? Because quite a few people were.
Oh, during my first 2 jags, I was pretty fine.
Right.
I was a bit worried after the first one because I was going to football,
and
I was worried that I wasn't going to make it, but I was fine.
Right,
the arm was a bit bruised, but apart from that, I was. But I know one of a good friend of mine, Billy. He, after his first jag, he was fine. After his second one, he was awful. He really suffered from the second one. But,
no, it's strange because I remember not that long ago, we were doing some campaign on radio about the flu jab. This is in the days when we'd never heard the word coronavirus, COVID, and all this business. And to be honest, how wonderful life was then. However, this whole flu thing, now, I'd never ever had a flu jab. And I'd always said, I don't want somebody to put a virus into me to make me feel better, because I tend to eat the right kind of food to keep it at bay, rather like one of our earlier callers. If you eat lots of fruit and veg and, eat the right thing, hopefully you can keep all of that stuff at bay if you're exercising and keeping fit. And I was. So I didn't particularly want it, but they said, oh, we're doing a campaign on the radio. We're going to persuade people to get it, keep them safe, keep people alive. And they sold me the story. So I said, okay, I shall have it. And that was the only time in 30 years I ever had the flu. And they said, it's impossible. You can't catch the flu. It's a dead thing that we put inside. Well, first of all, is it really a good idea to put dead stuff in you in the first place? And secondly, how come I got the flu then? So I don't fully go along with let's all get 3 COVID jabs now, because I've got them. And why did I get them? Because I want to travel at the first possible chance. I want to go somewhere and do something. I want to come up to Scotland before, deeper into Scotland before Christmas if I can. But Nicola's making a few noises as to say, keep away, you lot. Keep away, you Sassenachs. But I want to be able to travel. And they say now that if you're going to travel, you're going to need the 3 jags. You're going to need a little pamphlet that says, I've had the 3 jabs. There, see? Can I come in now? Yeah. And all that kind of stuff. I don't want to be left out. I don't want to be missing anything. I want to be enjoying as much of life as you can, which sounds like, well, surely doesn't everybody want all of that? So people are being pressured to do what they're told, and that kind of goes against everything I've always stood for. But I'm going along with it, so that makes me either a hypocrite or just desperate to try and get back to some form of normality. Have you missed out on anything because of the whole COVID thing?
Well, actually, last Christmas was a mess for us. We had, because of where I live, very close to the border, as you'll know.
Yeah.
And some of our family are from Carlisle. Uh-huh. But because there was a lockdown brought in last Christmas, they couldn't come across.
That's right. Yeah.
So, and that's what annoys me even further with the government noises about parties. So, wait a minute, we sacrificed having certain members of family round, yet you guys can have a party without any social distancing at all. That just really rubs me up the wrong way.
But right from the beginning, though, it's always been one law for them and one law for us, though, hasn't it? Politicians in general, they can do what the hell they like. They can travel where they like. They can have parties, see who they like. But if you're a member of the public, we'll have to penalise you for that. And
I think even if Labour were in, because Labour play on this now, but even if they were in, I think you'd have the same thing. You'd have accusations flying around.
I'm sure.
Regardless of whoever was in, I mean, I think pretty much all the parties have probably had some accusation of someone getting up to something.
Yeah, well, they're sizable groups of human beings, so it's bound to be the case. Bottom line is, you're going to get the booster then, I presume.
I will.
Right.
I'm going to have to get on to somebody tomorrow, whether it's the doctor or the NHS line, but I will look to get it because.
Well, they're telling everybody that it's got to be got by what date is it? It's this month, though, ideally, isn't it?
Yeah, I think they're wanting it done by the end of the year, aren't they?
Yeah, but that is this month. And then when you say that, I go, oh, yeah, of course it is. so you haven't got too long to get in there. And I don't know whether you've what it was like when you went for your first or second, but when you go in for the third, what I discovered was they called us all in on a Sunday morning, and it kind of just flew in the face of everything we're being told. You know, they're saying, well, you go in there. Traditionally, since the beginning of COVID, doctor surgeries have said, just come in exactly on the time of your appointment. We don't want loads of people sitting in the waiting room. Just come in at the time, and then you'll go straight in, you know, to see the doctor or the nurse, whoever, usually the nurse, because the doctors are scared of you. And that's what you did. But when I got the booster, my wife and I went in, and there was a room with about 50 people in there, all sitting in chairs, trying to keep the chairs as far apart from each other as you can in a small room, which meant you were within about 2 feet of people on all sides, which flies in the face of it all. And then on the way out, you walked along a corridor that had chairs on the side of it with people sitting in them. So essentially, if you had COVID and you had a bit of a cough, you're going to cough on probably 80 people before you got into the room. So just keep your distance, but come in and get a booster and be surrounded by 90 people. You know, just doesn't make any kind of sense to me. The whole thing's been handled in a very peculiar way, in my opinion.
It has. I mean, I had a similar when I got turned away. I had a similar experience.
Right.
Loads of students, because mine was in the university hub, and loads of students sitting around, you know, waiting, cough, 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 and you're like, what is the sense in this? It's not been done properly.
No. I mean, I know you can say that the average age for people who die of COVID has been in the 80s, you know, so people who are younger than that and relatively healthy are in good shape. People with outstanding conditions, though, blimey, they must be wetting themselves with. But every time there's a new variant, wherever it is, even if the World Health Organization says it's nothing to worry about, this one's a doddle, the whole world shivers and says, oh, we can take control again, if that's indeed what it is. Hey, but good talking to you, Lewis. Thank you for coming on. Great stuff. Keep on. You too, man. All the very best. There you go. In Annan, and we are heading, I think, across. We've been north. Let's head south. How far south can we possibly go? I think Exeter's a good shot. We've got Dave there. Hello, Dave.
Hello, Alan.
Hello,
how you doing?
Welcome to you. I gather you got a story about John Miles for us.
I have. What it is that my sister is a good 14 years older than me, so she had experiences in the late 60s and early 70s of going to see all the classic people like Jimi Hendrix and The Who and all that sort of thing. We were brought up in South Shields, so when John Miles died this week, obviously, you know, she was sadder than I was because she'd lived through that era.
Right.
Where I was only 8 years old when did music get in the charts?
76-ish. Was there?
I'll have been 10.
Yeah.
I mean, mind you, I was pretty up. I was into people like 10cc and the Beatles and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Well, loads of stuff, in fact, because of my sisters. But the point being, she was even more sadder than I was about John Miles because she had a connection in a way.
Right.
And she sent an email to me, and I just want to read out what she said because she's down in Surrey. She doesn't listen to the show, I'm afraid, Alan.
That's all right. No worries.
But
everybody can't be clever, everybody can't be clever.
Exactly. Her loss. So anyway, I just thought, seeing as you mentioned it earlier, I thought, because you were reminiscing, and I thought I want to add this to it. So I'll just say, what she says is, I'm really sad to hear of the death of John Miles. He was massive to me in South Shields in the late 60s, early 70s. That's where we lived, South Shields.
Yeah.
He played in a band called The Influence. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
And she says, and The Urge, too.
Mm-hmm. I don't remember The Urge. I remember The Influence, definitely.
Right. She says, and The Urge, too, I think. Maybe she's wrong there. She says, I used to go to dances at the BB where they performed regularly, really exciting gigs. Then he formed his own band, the John Miles Set.
Uh-huh.
And she says, I used to see them at the Cellar Club and the Latino.
Yes, Latino.
And when my good friend Gwen had her 21st, a private party at La Dolce Vita in Newcastle.
Wow, that's
her
swanky.
father booked the John Miles Set as the band.
Wow.
I know.
How good is that?
She says, because it was private, he just mixed in with us. I remember him most with his long blonde hair in his bright red Regency jacket, all the rage. He performed in it, and I would see him walking around Shields in it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I think that's great, walking around in his stage gear.
He was a proper star though in his time. He was tremendous, and it was funny because we did a single together. Not just me. There was Brian Johnson from AC/DC, the Lindisfarne lads, Tim Healy, the Toy Dulls, some Newcastle footballers, a right mixture, a right rum bunch, a motley crew, you would say, and then everybody was in their kind of normal clothes, and then of course in walks John Miles, white trousers, fancy jacket, perfect hair. He knew exactly what he was doing, and he sang the intro to the song where everybody else ended up joining in. Tremendous bit of work, and he just reeked local hero, all the way through.
Had the star presence
to the bone. Absolutely.
Yeah, I just want to, and also I want to finish up this paragraph because this is juicy.
Do it.
Where my sister says it must be about 20 or 25 years ago. She loves the stories she'd heard of Tina Turner in a headscarf and no makeup being spotted in Asda at Bolden because she was staying with John Miles and his wife and family in his lovely house in Bolden as they toured all over with her for many years and they became close friends. His house was near the Black Horse.
Uh-huh. That's right.
So, that's amazing. Imagine being in the supermarket and you go, hang on, that's Tina Turner.
And she would hate it. She would absolutely.
So?
Oh, there's no question. I remember when I worked with Tina on 4 shows that she did in and around the Northeast Gates of the International Stadium, being 2 of them. And she was telling me, I managed to interview her, and she was saying that in her house, she's got huge grounds surrounding the house so that nobody can see the house from the road, because for about 20 years, people have been trying to catch a photograph of her without a wig on.
Oh, yes.
And she said that one day she spotted a journalist in a tree on her land, and she just stepped out of the shower and she didn't have a wig on. And she thought he might have caught a photograph. So she ended up sending 3 of her staff running to rugby tackle him and smash his camera. So that was the absolute no-no. Do you know what I mean? She didn't want that at all. And
very
she deserves to, if she didn't want to be seen like that, nobody has the right to nip in and steal that from her, I don't.
No, I didn't. I mean, I haven't had the privilege of meeting her like you have, but I just get the feel that I get the sense she was very private. She had the Tina Turner presence, and then she had a private whatever 100%. Whatever her own persona was, and also now, as you know, that she's got into much more spiritual meditation and chanting and things like that, hasn't she?
Yeah, absolutely. The thing with Tina, though, well, she was the same person, just she seemed to just press a button and all of a sudden she was Tina Turner. She was, and what an entertainer she was live. I mean,
now, you've just reminded me, I wanted to say about this as well. I'm watching entire episodes of The Tube again.
Oh, blimey, right.
I know. And that performance of her on The Tube is pretty much seminal in her career, I think. Where she had Heaven 17 in the backing. They produced one of their tracks.
It was the comeback, really. It was when she was almost rediscovered again. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And I was going to ask you, did you have any involvement with? I know Metro Radio was different, a completely different channel, different working relationship and all that sort of thing. But I would have thought you probably were pally with Chris Cowie, Malcolm Jerry.
Yeah, both of those guys are on the same charity single that we did with John Miles, funnily enough. So, yes, knew him, did a few bits of warm-up for The Tube, revving the crowd up and such. And on the back of that, ended up doing a 24 TV series with TNTs. So, so everything kind of, it's an organic part of the world, the Northeast, yeah.
It is.
You're part of it or you're not part of it.
What a fantastic thing. And watching it again now, you just go, wow, just the whole vibe and the treatment of things. And obviously there was the looseness, the ad-lib thing. And I'm so glad that I went to The Tube. I went to see Robert Plant.
Oh, great.
And but that was definitely a privilege to get to The Tube. And watching it now, it's just like, we'll never see that again.
No, and the sadness is that music isn't seemingly as important now to people.
No,
because
that's right.
The world seems to be looking backwards at what was great rather than making new great. And that's very sad. And radio used to be able to play new releases and album tracks and all that kind of stuff. And now that kind of stuff's vanished pretty much. It's very, very sad. But what television needs, in my opinion, is more of the loose. It's more of the fun. It's more of the spontaneous and less of the pretend. You know, that's
exactly.
my view.
I blame technology as well, if we're going to get on the grumpy old man thing.
Oops.
I think technology, I tell this to people, I think the problem when people, because I'm a music teacher as well.
Yeah. Oh, and I know I've got music of yours and everything.
I know you have. But when people say, Dave, but why is pop music? Because they all want to play Bohemian Rhapsody and, the stuff from the past and Neil Young and all that. Why is pop music not the same? Where are the phenomenal people now? Where are the Stevie Wonders, the James Browns, and the Freddie Mercurys? And I go, look, it's technology. The reason is that years ago people were motivated to actually physically do something incredible.
Right.
Whereas I think technology now makes it. They get something incredible by using the technology. And I think that's why we don't go, wow, I've got to see so-and-so, because it's their technological feats that actually people are feeding off, not so much their performance.
Yeah, because if you say, well, where are the superstars now? Somebody's bound to say, oh, well, what about Ed Sheeran? And Ed Sheeran is talented, but if you were to transplant Ed Sheeran into the 90s or the 80s or the 60s,
absolutely,
how would he stand up? And it's sad to say, I don't think.
I've got great respect and admiration. He's a great guy, lovely guy,
absolutely,
and he seems to he's prolific.
Yep,
but he doesn't make you go wow, does he?
Apart from Shape, all of his other songs are okay.
Yeah, that's true.
But they're still number ones, and you kind of think, when was okay good enough to get to number one? Because it never used to be. And Ed Sheeran, again, I'm in a fortunate position. I'm able to meet these people, and he's a lovely ginger, and I'm not knocking him in any shape or form. And he deserves the success that he's had because he works hard for it.
Oh, definitely, no doubt about it. But watching The Tube, you just go, wow, one after the other, the artists that come on, and the live performances are just banging. They're absolute belters. Simple Minds, U2, just amazing performances on that program. It's worth a look.
No,
if anybody out there is wondering what to watch, just check out the Tube again. It's great.
No worries. Hey, lovely talking to you. Yes, Dave, what's that?
I just want to quickly say I agreed with that. I didn't agree with everything he said. I think it was Colin that was on earlier. But I do vibe with what he was saying in the sense of being, I haven't had the jabs, and I feel healthy, and I do actually look after myself and take a lot of vitamins, vitamin D. I just absolutely wallop it all in every day. And I haven't had any cold symptoms for 4 years. When he said 5, I thought, that's similar to me.
You're heading the same way.
2016, I'm the same.
Keep being well, Dave. Keep it up, man.
Will do.
Lovely talking.
All right.
Thanks, man.
And you. Cheers.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Craig Tuck's just on here as well, wearing his woolly hat. Well, you need it. Just on the back of that, I blame technology comment, how many of you can remember life before the internet? Do you miss them times? Everything is instant access now. Takes a lot of the spontaneous wonder and surprise away. Craig, 100%. Let's do something spontaneous, like talk to Roy Wood of Wizard and The Move and ELO about the first time he played Wembley.
The first gig that we ever did with Wizard, this is like 2 or 3 weeks after leaving ELO. And we hardly knew the numbers or anything, and we had the chance of doing this gig, and I said yes, and I don't, as I was expecting, it was Wembley Stadium.
Start off small,
yeah, and it was a rock extravaganza. It was Little Richard, Chuck Berry, Jerry Lee Lewis, like all the rockers were on it, everybody you can mention, and because Bill Haley was still alive then, he was on it as well. It's a good job I had my brown trousers on. I plugged into 3 different amps and they all blew up. I ended up because the rest of the band were, really nervous about it because I was the only one that really knew the songs properly and they were following me,
Yes, of course.
And so I took my guitar off and did an Elvis thing on the, with the mic stand and everything, with all my Wizard gear on. And it's the only time I've ever sung without a guitar or an instrument on because I don't feel right doing it.
Yeah.
But I just, I thought
it's I'll do it. It's not actually a crutch because you don't need to play it, but it's there and it feels important.
That's right. Yeah, you can hide behind it a bit really. We wrote the music out and they were playing off the music, but they didn't want to make it look too obvious, so they put the music down on the floor on the stage and they were following it like that. And then the wind got up. It was blowing the music around. They were following it around the stage,
And that's the old-fashioned cobbles all the way the other way. But you've got to remember, when the stables were here, those cobbled things would be for horsemen to come in, put the horses away, and then tootle off. There were stables here too, so that the rich had it. The rich get it.
They get it everywhere, don't they?
The way that they want to have it, and it's there. So
let's talk about the rich and the parties.
Grrr!
Yeah, let's have a party, but let's not have a party. Okay.
Now, once again, you come to old Newcastle, and yes, we know there's modern buildings in all directions. However, little bits of old Newcastle remain. Now, this is the top of where we were before. We've come round in a circle.
Yeah.
Right? So, Aikenside Hill, known as All Hallows Hill. Right. Why?
It's got to be something to do with Halloween then, surely.
So last year when things started going south,
one Halloween, a group of people came here to dine at a manor house, which was there, where that white building is. There was a manor house there. It was actually a rich Jewish family who made their money on another street that's literally just around the corner from here, called Silver Street. Silver Street, called Silver Street because rich Jewish people, realizing that there was going to be a lot of money in Newcastle, came here, set up businesses, and made a fortune selling, assaying silver. And sometimes on antique shows they'll say, oh, it's got a Newcastle mark on it.
Yeah.
because of the Jewish jewelers on Silver Street.
Right.
Now, one of them had a mansion house there, right at the top of where Akenside Hill meets Dog Bank. And this is, as the sign behind Tony says,
Dog Bank.
This is Dog Bank.
Oh, no. All Hallows Lane up there.
All Hallows Lane is I'm taking you up it in a second. Next
to Pilgrim Street.
No, this is the top of Pilgrim Street.
Dear me.
You know where Pilgrim Street is?
Yeah.
There's a wibbly wobbly road. Why is it called Pilgrim Street?
It's where the Pilgrims marched, wasn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
People would arrive by boat on the Tyne. They'd get off the ship and they'd walk up Pilgrim Street to get to Newcastle Cathedral. Or they'd walk down Pilgrim Street to get to Newcastle Cathedral.
Right, yeah.
Because if you know where that is.
Yeah.
So All Hallows, why is it called that? Rich mansion house there.
Yeah.
A large group of Jewish people came up from York and they travelled up this lane and they got to here and they looked at this area heading into the churchyard, and coming down was a group of 8 people. 3 of them religious people wearing long black robes. They walked down the stairs, followed by a group of 5 other people, just ordinary people in long dresses, looking quite neat and tidy. And they got to here with their coach, and this was a long coach, had a number of people in it. There was about a dozen of them. They came up, then they stopped there, and they weren't Christians, but they had respect for other religions back then. And they said hello to them. They just said hello as they were heading by. They walked down about 3 or 4 more steps and they all disappeared. And because of that, remembering a lot of Jewish people don't believe in spirit, but they couldn't explain it any other way. So they told it to their guests, and one of their guests was an alderman from Newcastle, not Jewish, but he was one of their guests. And from that moment on, they called this, there's so many ghosts here, we should name it All Hallows Walk or All Hallows. And this is All Hallows Lane. So, you know, and it's marked at the top there. A lot of people have no idea about the story.
No idea.
But Dog Bank again, what happened here, across the road, in all directions, there's a something. And it's what happened in here. Now you got to remember, shall we go in? Let's go in. Might as well go in. We're here. Let's go in and see where poor Alice lost her life. And for those of you that, you know, we talk about dark things that move in the night and what have you, and the darkness. Oh, yeah, well, why I? Give it a try. Trust me. You'll get there.
It may catch the top, though, might not?
Just need to get you here, Tony, and if you're here, you're flying.
There you go.
Here. You just stay here, and I'll do the rest. I know, that's
Watch
fine.
these steps.
Absolutely. So in here, now you've got to remember that back in the day, a lot of this was greenery.
Yeah.
A lot of buildings, these posh, newer buildings from the late 1800s weren't here. And it was, the story I've got for you is about a girl called Alice McGowan. Alice McGowan. And it was another one of those stories that, because that was a rich mansion house, because this was an important church, massively important church, this one here, All Saints.
Yeah.
Look at it, absolutely immense. We'll be going in there very, very soon. I hope you're going to join us as we go around it. This was an important part of the city. You had the poor people down there, and you had the richer people with their hounds and their horses and their carriages bringing them up to the mansion houses along the way. Nobody wanted a bad name for this area. Right. Now, when Alice McGowan's broken, battered body was found in the middle of this, you know, right in the middle. I'm not going in because it'll be, you know, I'm wet enough, but right in the middle of here. Kenny, go in there and tell me how cold that is in there. Because actually it's not too bad out here.
Oh, God.
Are you getting fridge?
It's absolutely freezing.
It's like you've opened the door of a fridge.
Oh, God, your whole body.
I know.
Your whole body just freeze.
Like you've opened the fridge.
Jesus, yeah.
It's like you've opened a fridge door.
That is ridiculous.
I want to have another look in there.
That is ridiculous, mine. Walking inside a fridge.
It is, though.
Coming home Newcastle.
Jeepers. Wow. Whoa. Absolutely.
Oh, you should go on. I'll carry that. I think you'll get something here. Now, if that says Alice on that necromancer, I'm running.
I would love to think that we could reach Alice here. Alice, I'm coming in, pet. Ow. Are you here, Alice? Alice, is there any hint of you left here? Speak to us. Alice. With all of the background noise, it's hard to...
There's whispering there.
Alice. Is Alice here? Alice.
Night Owls with Alan Robson.
What are we talking about next? You make the call. 0191 488 3188.
Greatest Hits Radio.
Now, I promised you Baz's letter from Tadcaster. He says, listening to the show from Tadcaster in Yorkshire tonight. Now, I'm not a fan of Boris Johnson, but on this occasion, he's in a sticky situation. He got criticised for not placing rules and regulations into place quickly last time around, and now with this new strain, he's placed new regulations in. He gets flack straight away. Now, imagine if he doesn't say or do anything and the virus gets out of control. He would be slated for not doing anything all over again. Yes, he could do more, but we are now over 2 years into the pandemic, and as controversial as this might sound, I think some of the fault has to lie with us all. We have had hands, face and space chucked at us, but all you have to do is walk into shops, get on buses, etc., to see the amount of people who simply cannot be bothered to follow the rules. We don't know enough yet about this new variant, and until we do, on this occasion, I am with Boris. That's what Baz says. He also suggests a Blade Runner super quiz one Sunday. Would love to do it. Can't, though, sadly. So that is the way. However, one day in the future, come the glorious day, the Blade Runner shall return in one form or another. And also a couple of other very quick things. Anne says, Alan, I agree with you. I got the flu the only time I ever had the jab. Never got it again. I also got the COVID jabs for the same reason you did, hoping I could get back to Portugal this or next year. Also, I've got the what's it. But don't read this out because I think it's unlikely that I'm going to tell you, lot. 0191 488 3188. Has Anne got it right? We shall have to find out. However, 2 clues down. What you're doing if the TV's on and A Touch of Frost, Sherlock Holmes, Luther, Columbo, Line of Duty, those kind of shows are showing. Second clue, a big Ursula Andress action movie after she came out of the water in Dr. No, the James Bond movie. You're going to get the third clue in 15 minutes. You're going to get the fourth clue in about half an hour. So we're very nearly there. So hang on in there while we go and talk to... we're going back to Yorkshire again. This time, Penny's there in West Yorkshire. Hi, Penny.
Hi, Alan.
Hello, my darling. Thanks for joining us. What can we do for you?
Well, I responded to a thing on Facebook, put a comment on about the ugliest thing.
What's the ugliest thing that you've seen then, Ben?
It's actually called a thorny-headed worm. It's a endoparasite that we see in hedgehogs from time to time, and they are so ugly.
Excellent.
They really are.
Paint us a picture.
They're about a centimetre long. You can see them with the naked eye.
Right.
Normally, we'd look for internal parasites by taking a sample of the feces and looking at it under the microscope, but these things are about a centimetre long, so they're on the outside of the stool. You can see them quite clearly, but when you get them under the microscope, they've got a head with hooks that they actually grab into the intestines of the hedgehogs to latch on.
Is this kind of tapewormy, like, or not?
Same sort of thing. It's an intestinal worm, so obviously it affects the guts.
Right.
But it does a lot more damage.
Question has to be asked, Penny. What are you doing looking up hedgehogs for?
I run a hedgehog rescue.
Oh, well, that's as good a reason as any. There was a hedgehog that used to come. I think most people in the north probably have a hedgehog story of some kind. Mine is, I used to have a little house, a bungalow, and the back garden was all fenced in. 6-foot fences on 3 sides, and it was only a tiny little back garden area. And one day I saw a hedgehog on the top of the fence, which is what? First of all, how? And I'm thinking it had to have a rope. There's no way. But apparently there was like an ivy covering to the fence.
Yeah, and they'll just climb.
It climbed up the top, and then when it got to the top, it just rolled into a ball and fell off. And it went kind of sprung back to life at the bottom and started walking across the back garden. And I thought that was incredible. And once I realized that was its route, it climbed up there every night. And within about 15 minutes, every night at a particular time, where's Henry? I called him Henry. Oh, there he is. Boing. And you think, that's amazingly clever. And I'm presuming the first one that did it probably fell by accident. Do you know what I mean? And then thought, oh, blimey, that saved me 20 minutes climbing down backwards. Do you know what I mean?
Well, that's it. Did you put a highway in? Did you cut a hole in the fence so it could get through in future?
I didn't really. I thought it was amazing. I kind of liked seeing the whole drama of it because I've never seen it on Attenborough. I've never seen do you know what I mean? Never seen a hedgehog leap off the top of it. They never do. So, and this is the thing. We watch television and we think, therefore we know everything. And we don't. And I once picked one up off the road and moved it to the side of the road because it was busy. And I put my hazards on, went and got it, put it to the opposite side of the road. And when it was there, without touching it, because you don't want to infringe on its basic hedgehog animal rights, on the back of it had fleas, but these weren't like little fleas. These were big.
Oh no, yeah, hedgehog fleas are quite big.
Do they go on to human beings?
Well, they can sometimes jump off, but they won't live. They're host specific, so they'll only live on a hedgehog. So even if they came off and jumped onto your cat or your dog, they wouldn't infest your cat or your dog. They wouldn't infest your home.
Right.
And generally speaking, if they've got a lot of fleas, they're a sickly hedgehog anyway, and just need some help.
Gotcha.
You'd need to get them to a rescue for them to be checked out. Same if you see ticks. I don't know if you've seen those on the hedgehogs. They kind of look like baked beans. People describe them as horrible.
Yeah.
But again, if you see one or two, it's not so much of a worry. But if you're seeing a lot, then it means that
Mind you, I think in the world of noses, a hedgehog probably has the most scrumptious nose.
Oh, they're so beautiful, aren't they?
I am a sucker for the hedgehog, I have to say.
I've decided that a drug addiction would have been cheaper than a hedgehog addiction, though, Alan, because, looking after all these hedgehogs, it's really expensive.
But do they all come to you injured then? Because hedgehogs have always seemingly managed to work a route out and avoiding roads which are tragic places for hedgehogs. But other than that, I mean, do you get injured hedgehogs? How do hedgehogs come to you in the first place?
A lot of it is members of the public that find them, and then they search for a rescue, and they come here.
Right.
Some of them will come direct from vets. Vets will take them, assess them for injuries, and if they can't find any injuries, then they transfer them to rescues for the microscope work to be carried out.
Right.
Some of them at this time of year, they need to be a good sort of 650, 700 grams to
survive
have a better chance of surviving, so a lot of them at the moment, we're getting the babies in, the juveniles that are between 250 and 300 grams. But yeah, a lot of them are injured. A lot of it's human. It's humans. We've had a lot that have been caught in rat traps this year.
Right.
So they've lost limbs, or we're trying to sort of educate people that even if they put there's a humane rat traps that don't actually kill them, they just trap them. We're finding people aren't checking them daily, or even several times a day is better, obviously.
Yeah.
But you're getting hedgehogs caught in there, and then they're just releasing them. But then other people are finding them, in a short space of time because they're basically suffering with dehydration.
Sure.
So they need to come in to rescue for.
But explain,
therapy.
because I was always told, and you can't even remember who told me, but I was told many, many times that don't pick a hedgehog up unless you have to, unless its life was in danger, which is the time that I did. Leave them alone and don't ever take them home in a box, because they have a very specific route that they take, and they tend to take that route every night because they're nocturnal. Don't give them milk because it's bad for the tummy. Give them stuff like cat food or dog food or meaty things.
Yeah, I mean, all of that is good advice, but I mean, what we do is any hedgehog that's found out in the daytime tends to be out for a reason. It's out because it's sick.
Right.
I have a major problem across breeding seasons. So April, May, June, and then September, October. They have the two breeding seasons, and people are obsessed that they don't want to take a hedgehog that they find in the day because it could be a nursing mum. And we're trying to sort of get it through to them that if it's a lactating mum, you've two options. You've either got a lactating mum that's out because she's not well and she's not going to be able to go back and care for those babies. She's going to need some intervention, or it's not a nursing mum. I mean, I had one earlier this year, and the gentleman started messaging me on the Wednesday and said, "Oh, I think it might be nursing mum because it's coming straight out of the hedgehog house at 12 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 7 o'clock, during the daytime, but, set times, straight into the food station, then goes back into the house." And I said, "Well, let's just monitor it." I said, "I'd rather have a look at it, but I said, let's monitor it." And we got to the Saturday, and he sent me a video of it, and I could quite clearly see that it had a broken back leg. So I said, "Look, regardless of whether this is a nursing mum or not, I need it in." So we had the palaver of he didn't want to touch it. So, eventually he did bring it to me.
Good.
But he brought me the hedgehog house as well, so I could check there were no babies.
So what do you do? Do you put a splint on a hedgehog leg? I mean, how do you put it? You cannot put a pot on it, surely.
Not a pot. I mean, some of them, we've had one this year with an open fracture, and the vet managed to put the splint on and bandaged it, and she actually gave birth a couple of weeks later while the leg was still healing. That was quite nice because she did make a full recovery and went back to where she was found with the babies when they were old enough. Some of them have them amputated, so we're fortunate enough to have an enclosure at Cannon Hall Farm in Barnsley, and on our guidance have created a woodland enclosure. So I've got half a dozen disabled females in there that are back leg amputees because they need monitoring, but we don't want to be too hands-on. So the staff there just monitor them and feed them for me.
Let them get on with it.
Exactly.
That's nice. It's lovely work you do. And thank you for your ugly thing as well. That's just fascinating, Penny, because I don't know anybody that doesn't love a hedgehog. Simple as. They're lovely things.
How can you not love a hedgehog?
That's the thing. That is the thing. Penny, Merry Christmas. Thanks for all you do for them as well. We appreciate it.
You. Thanks for having me on, Alan.
Bye-bye. Was she good? Tremendous. And the ugliest thing, an internal up the of a hedgehog. 0191 488 3188. Oh, scream, why don't you? Oh. Are you here, Alice? Alice, is there any hint of you left here? Speak to us. Alice. With all of the background noise, it's hard to...
There's whispering there.
Alice. Is Alice here? Alice? What?
What? That was definitely what? That was 100% what?
Why do you stay here, Alice? What was it that took you? Because to this day, nobody knows how she died.
Seriously?
What was it that took you? Screaming. Was it bad? What happened to you? What happened to you, Alice? Did they hurt you, Alice? Speak to me, girl. It's you that we want. Did you see that, Kenny?
I saw that move.
No, I'm sitting here and all the other trees aren't moving and this thing just went, which is kind of odd. Don't know what that was about. I might have touched it, I suppose. Think it might, oh no, might have been me. Might have been me.
Oh. No, I got something in my neck. That was...
Something touched you?
Not, it was... Right.
Could it be just a drip?
Tip of a knife? That's what it felt like.
What?
Honestly and truly, you know, like a tip of a knife. Just went like that there. Honestly, I felt it. That is the weirdest thing. What was that?
She just kind of went, oh no. Like she was sympathizing with you.
I wonder if she got her neck cut. Honestly, that was like a tip of a knife, just like somebody touching you there with it. That's exactly what that felt like there.
Well, the story was
that was the weirdest thing.
They found her body lying there. Now, it was found by wealthy people right here. The wealthy people picked her up, took her to a coroner's office.
Sorry.
Sorry, are you?
Nah, it's
you
just
scratched?
weird. I don't know. It's just like... It just felt like...
No, it's just ugly.
It just felt like the tip of the knife just going like that. Just there.
The rich people took this girl's poor broken body. She was about 19 years of age.
Strange.
They took her to a coroner and they gave the coroner money to say that she'd fallen and hit her head.
Right.
We don't know that she could have had a throat cut, but they didn't want a scandal. They didn't want a murder up here. So they paid the coroner to say whatever they wanted to say. However, her friend saw her die.
Right.
Now, what happened, and it's very rare that you hear a story like this from back then.
No.
I've made it very clear on the various ghost hunts that I've been on that I regularly see, and you've seen subsequently, that blackness that moves, that is darker than ordinary darkness, and it moves. We saw on that on the leopard trail, we saw that black figure moving across the path.
Yeah.
We saw it clearly and we caught it on camera. Now, don't forget, if you are going to join us and become a supporter, you can get all of this stuff as a bonus. You get the whole lot. You don't just get the new stuff, you get everything. But we caught on camera this figure moving across a path, a blackness. Well, what the friend said, her friend, Alice had come running up the hill. Apparently, she had a job at one of the mansions cleaning and tending for them, and she was late, and she was scurrying up the hill, leaving her friend behind her who also had a job with her at the same property, but she was a bit of a larger girl and wasn't making the laps quite as well as Alice did. And they saw Alice come up these steps, get into she was cutting through the woodland. It wasn't quite as wild as it is now.
Mm-hmm.
She was cutting through to head up to the mansion houses, and suddenly a blackness appeared out of nowhere, a huge darkness, and it covered her completely. And her friend couldn't see her anymore, and she was screaming, Alice, 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 Alice. And then the blackness seemed to just blow away in the breeze. And by the time she got up the bank and came in to see her, Alice was lying broken. The girl's screams were heard by the people in the mansion house who came up, dealt with the body, bribed the coroner, and there's not a hint of this story anywhere except in 2 texts. One told to a vicar by the young girl who told the vicar the story, and he wrote it in one of the parish magazines. Right. And it was all that same story was then passed on to somebody else. So we know she died. We don't know how she died, but incredible that it could be that blackness that we talk about that never seems to show itself. So now I think we move out and we'll head up All Hallows Lane and we'll see what's going on there. Right, okay, well, let's do that. Okay. No. Okay. Now, don't forget, everybody, share. You get a chance to win one of our near legendary badges. I am soaked to the skin, but we have another hour to do at least. And we want you guys to come with us. Tony, if they want to join us going up All Hallows Lane into the cemetery, what do they do?
I'll put a link in the description video now for both Facebook and YouTube. So if you click that, become a supporter, join the channel, it will pop up, and so will all the other stuff. It'll show up for you.
Now, the reason we're out here in the pouring rain with a soaking wet, are you moist around the crotch too?
I could say that.
The reason we're doing this is for you guys. We want to create something that's stunning, long-lasting, and that we can look back on with pride with your help, but we need your help. We're not funded by anybody. We're doing this totally off our own back. We would love you to support us and help us upkeep soaking wet equipment.
Freezing cold.
Maybe sort me out with a new groin transplant after this, because it's really not funny.
Yeah.
I thought it was.
Yeah,
I wouldn't have been wearing it if I didn't
obviously
think
not.
it was, but it's patently not. Anyway, so help us as best you can, and the best way you can do that is to become a supporter. It's less than £1 a week. Help us out if you can, and we'd love to have you on side. We're going into a cemetery next. More stories to tell. Come with us.
Call Alan Robson's Night Owls now.
0191 488 3188.
This is real life conversation with the voice of the North.
Greatest hits radio.
Oh, go on, do that, why don't you? 0191 488 3188. Lots to talk about. And let's get to that right now, because we promised you a third clue. Now, remember, I'm going to give you 4 clues in total. The answer to each clue is a song. You'll end up with 4 songs. Who had a hit? Whose hits? Who had a hit with those 4 songs? It will be one act, a group, a singer, a duo, a trio, whatever. You're going to find out who it is, who had a hit with them. First clue, what you're doing if the television's on and A Touch of Frost, Sherlock Holmes, Luther, Columbo, or Line of Duty, or a similar show is playing. What is it that you're doing? Second clue, a big Ursula Andress action movie going back a ways here, a film that she made after she walked out of the water with that knife strapped to her leg in Doctor No, the James Bond movie. Third clue. And if you have a small penis, you can buy a gadget to do this. So I've heard, apparently. If you have a small penis, you can buy a gadget to do this, apparently. Okay? I know. Only on Night Owls. 3 clues down, 1 more clue to come. You'll get that in about 10 to 15 minutes. So let's talk to, hang on a second, a woman from Jarrow who Tyrannosaurus Rex would call It's Deborah. Hello, Deborah.
Hello, Alan.
Hello, my darling. Thanks for joining us. What can we do for you tonight?
Well, I was just talking to my daughter earlier because she's wrote a song and
great.
It's getting released on radio tomorrow, and I was just telling her about a radio show I used to listen to quite a lot when I was younger. And obviously it's the first one she's produced, and I was like laughing and giggling with her and said, we used to sit and we used to hide on a night time listening to it because we used to get wrong because it was on so late.
Yeah.
But it was always a topic of conversation the next day on the walk to school or, at comp or secondary school as it was back then.
Absolutely.
So we were just reminiscing about the old times and things that he used to do that he used to get wrong for.
Like what? What else? What other stuff did you used to get wrong for then, Deb?
Well, it was just that I used to read a lot, so I used to always get wrong for reading under the covers and that. So it was like under the.
Did you have a torch?
Because I've got bad eyes.
Did you have a torch?
Torch, yeah.
I used to have one of those torches. One of the torches that you used to. My dad had this torch. He never had a bike, but he had a torch that clipped onto the front of a bike, and I know not why, but I thought, that'd be perfect for me to read comics when I go to bed when I should be asleep, because they'd never see the light of that if I put the quilt over the top. And that's what I used to do as well. So, good. Happy days.
Always.
And I
I've worn glasses since I was 12 because of it, I think.
That's brilliant. I mean, how did you manage with the radio then? Did you have like earpieces, or was it a transistor radio? How did you do it?
No, it was one of the the little handheld ones. It was actually a German radio that my dad bought back when he used to go over, and a bit like off in the same peck.
All right,
he used to work over in Germany, and he brought one back, and it was like a German radio.
Right.
And you used to just tune in.
So you just used to have to hold it really quiet so they could hardly hear it. Your mum couldn't hear it. That's great.
Yeah. So we just reminiscing about all the time because she's got a tune being released tomorrow.
Well, tell me about this thing. Oh, hang on a second. I think is your daughter called Jessica?
She is, yeah.
We've got her on the other line.
Have you?
She's ringing in too.
Oh, gosh.
That's fun. So you're our official plugger, and she's just making an entrance now.
Oh, all right.
Perfect.
Okay.
Oh, no, that's all right. Anything else from you, Deborah?
No, I think just obviously there's been quite a lot of talk about the COVID, and I think obviously Jess she did performing arts, finished university about 3 years ago.
Right.
And obviously been into lockdown, so she hasn't been able to follow the main sort of career path that she thought she would. So
is she playing catch up now? I presume she is when you say she's got
and doing lots of other stuff. So
good.
That's
good.
It has affected everyone, and hopefully it won't happen again.
But what's it like having a diva in the family? Because she's I wish to make my entrance now. She's declaring.
She's yeah, she's a big personality.
That's good. You need to
amazing.
be. You absolutely need to be. Well, what you must both do is make sure you send in a copy of the track, and we'll clag a bit on for you on next week's show.
Excellent.
Happy to do that for you. But anyway, Deborah, get off, man. I'm going to get your lass on.
Okay, then.
All right.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, darling. Bye-bye. So let us nip across and get Jessica there, who, funnily enough, is also in Jarrow. Hi, Jessica.
Hiya.
Hello. Tell me about this track of yours. What is it, and where can people get it?
Oh, well, I've literally just released it today, yesterday technically now. But it's on SoundCloud at the moment, but hopefully soon it'll be on all streaming and social media places. So it'll be on Apple Music and iTunes and Spotify and
Well, tell us what it's called. We don't even know what it's called yet.
It's called Christmas Has Come to Town, and it is a Christmas song. It's my very first song. I've never released a song ever, let alone a song that I wrote myself. So I was really nervous to get it out in the world, but I've had a lot of positive reaction from it, and the people that helped us create the song, they were really happy with the song as it was, and they were just like, this is a really good song, I'm happy to work with you to do this. And
brilliant.
I was like, oh, thank you so much, because I have no idea what I'm doing. But yeah, they were great, they were absolutely fab. The help guide is on my way. So
well, I know that, but that's really honest. The thing is, because it's your first one, of course you don't know what you're doing. You just know that you think it sounds good, and you've written it and you think it's good. Can you give us a little a cappella bit? Can you sing a bit?
Oh, you know what it is? I'd love to, but I've literally lost my voice. It was going on Friday night, and then I woke up yesterday, on Saturday, and I was like, yeah, I haven't got a voice, so I sound very croaky at the moment.
All right. Hey, well, just make sure you get us a copy of it for next week's show, and we'll give it a spin for you. No worries.
Oh, no worries. Yeah, I did post it in the comment section, a little link earlier on.
Right.
And if anyone by chance to take a look at it.
We're looking for it now, and if we can find it quickly enough, I don't know whether Chris next door has been able to find it or not. Oh, Tony's doing that now as we speak. So we're trying to find it, but send us another one just to be on the safe side, and we'll definitely get it turned around for next week. But hey, good luck. Let's hope it's the beginning of a grand collection, like Robbie Williams, one about every 3 weeks after this.
Yeah, that would be fabulous.
Wouldn't be bad at all. Hey, well, thanks, Jessica. Lovely talking to you. Thanks for coming on.
It was lovely to talk to you. Thank you.
Thanks, darling. Bye-bye. There you go. She's a large character. I believe it. Absolutely. Edwin from Gateshead's with us too. Hi, Edwin. Hello, Edwin. Oh, Edwin's not quite there yet. Beg your pardon. Yes, he is. Hi, Edwin.
Hi, can you hear him?
Yes, I've got you now. Thanks, mate.
All right, you want me, John? Just John Mayall's thing. When I heard it was when I heard it on the news, in national news, it was on national news. They never even mentioned where he was from. Why is it when everybody's from up here, it doesn't get mentioned on national news where they're from? You know what I mean?
I don't know.
I think a footballer died as well. Was around about the same time that was from up here. He never got mentioned where he was from. I can't remember what it was now.
I don't know whether because the people that make those decisions aren't northern. The decisions are made either in London or somewhere like Manchester, and it seems if they're not born in Manchester or London, they'll not mention it. You know, Manchester is in mourning for, London's come to a halt because of the death of, and then somebody else dies that's not from that part of the world, and they might as well be from Holland or East Germany or wherever. It's very sad, but it's the nature of the beast when the world is networking. You know, locals always be where it's at.
He's flying a flag for anyway.
Bless you. Well, it'll not be for it. Probably won't be forever, but I'll keep going as long as I can, man.
There's for you and there's Ian Payne on the news and that, people like that really fly the flag for the North East, and all the other Geordies obviously want to Deck and Sting and people like that. But it seems whenever that was on news, like the John Mayall, like a footballer, I can't remember what it was, they never mentioned where they were from. I think he was from Stanley, maybe, the footballer. But I thought, well, why isn't it mentioned? You know, it's that stuff. It just gets left out.
That's tragic.
Could I say Boris Johnson? Sorry,
yes.
Boris Johnson. What do you think about that?
Where do you stand on Boris then?
Well, I think it's disgraceful for me. They're like brats, aren't they? They're like brats, aren't they?
Brats is a word that kind of fits. As I said earlier, the thing that I don't like is one rule for them and one rule for everybody else. You cannot expect people to obey the rules if they're just walking slipshod over them.
No, definitely. I mean, even that bloke, whoever he was, that was giving them false forms, like an award thing. He offered his resignation, and Boris Johnson's rejected it. What right has he got to reject it when the bloke's done wrong? It can't assure you it's a Mickey take, to put it politely, without getting cut off.
No, I get the impression, though, that if your boss has been caught out, and let's face it, he was with a quiz, and he was caught out about the party, which is more lies, and there's been enough of them, frankly. If you've been caught out yourself, and one of your mates says, "Oh, they've just caught me as well," I could imagine a conversation going like, "Well, yes, I tell you what, why don't you offer to resign, and I'll just not accept it."
Yeah,
and then everybody in your constituency will think, "Oh, well, he tried to do the honourable thing, but the Prime Minister wouldn't act." I could see stuff like that going on as well.
Any other job, you'd be peddled, you know what I mean?
You'd be on the pavement with a cardboard box. That's absolutely the situation. So, I mean, are you jacked? Have you got the 3 in your arm, or what?
Oh, no, I've got 2. I've had 2. I didn't have this third one. How many we're going to have, like? I mean, how long is it going to go on for?
Yeah, I've no idea.
That's really needed for nightclubs, I know.
They're talking about restaurants, nightclubs, football matches, sporting events, concerts.
Well, one minute you're saying, right, people are going to work at home. And when they're working at home, they can have a Christmas party. Well, he's contradicting what he's saying. They say they're one or the other. You either stay at home and stay away from everybody, or get together and have a quick carry on. I mean, it's either one or the other. You can't stay away and have a Christmas party.
Yeah.
It's all mixed up, isn't it?
Well, it is. And also, of course, it's Christmas, and you got Christmas markets everywhere where people are rubbing shoulders with each other the whole way. But that's all right. But there might be a lockdown later. Well, hang on. If there was a lockdown earlier, you might not need a lockdown. There's no consistency to anything. That's the
thing. Behind all that now, from what I can gather now, when it comes to lockdowns, well, that was the last one.
Yeah, that seems to be the case too. No, hey,
seems to be a bit of it.
Madness.
Me.
Well, I would just love to think that in the new year, the world realizes that whatever diseases have come our way in the last 2,000 years, we've managed to get by without this becoming a weekly event. I can't ever remember, other than the Black Death. Other than the Black Death, I would say that, we've seemed to manage. But
that's right, they're getting free publicity, man, and they're having to go door to door. You know what I mean? It's in the news and it's in people's book all the time, so they're just saying, just see what you like, man. You're not having to go door to door, and you know what I mean? And they're getting all this free publicity. It's all rubbish, man.
Yeah, well, they call it power, and it's power is a scary thing. I think when it's in the hands of somebody.
Him with a bald head, I didn't trust him either. I didn't trust any of them.
Which is him with a bald head?
Looks like a Maltese. I didn't know.
Oh, Saeed Javid, I think the baldy one. Gotcha.
I didn't trust him. You can see when you look at his eyes, he's as sly as out now when you look at him.
I think if you just generally say, be careful what you believe when a politician tells you. I think that just leave it there for all politicians. That's pretty much where I stand on it.
I think we definitely need a change, but I didn't trust any of them on it. We definitely need a change, but they're all for lining their own pocket down for themselves.
Seems to be the way. Hey, fingers crossed for a better year, Edwin. All the best. Thanks for coming on, mate. Take it easy. Bye-bye. 01914 488 3188. Tony was listening before when that woman came on who fancied the woman next door and says, Alan, I'm really worried now, says Tony. I fancy the woman that lives next door. So now I'm wondering if I'm a lesbian. Well, we've got a lot in common. I'm an honorary lesbian. I'm down with the sisters. No question about that at all. 0191 488 3188. Promised you at about 20 past I would give you the fourth clue. So Chris is waiting for you right now. Clue number 1. Now remember, each clue gives you a song title. Clue 1. What you're doing if the television's on and a touch of Frost, Sherlock Holmes, Luther, Columbo, Kojak. If any of them are showing, Starsky and Hutch, Cagney and Lacey, how far back do you want me to go? If any of them are on. Spooks. Okay. Second clue, a big Ursula Andress action movie that she made after walking out of the sea in Dr. No, the James Bond movie. Third clue, if you have a small penis, you can get gadgets to do this, apparently. So Chris on the switchboard tells me. Right. So there you go. Chris has had a guess and he's wrong. He's wrong. Okay. You are wrong. I know he's desperate to find out the answer because people are already ringing. So let me give you the fourth clue because you can't possibly be answering it yet because I haven't given it. The fourth clue is Cromwell's Roundheads. Okay, Cromwell's Roundheads. Okay, a song title, Cromwell's Roundheads. You've now got all four clues. If you've got any idea whose hits it is, you call us right now. Chris knows what it is. I have just, if you're watching the live feed on Facebook and YouTube, you could read my lips there. So why not give him a call if you are a genius and extremely wise when it comes to all things musical. You got 4 song titles now. Dive in there, be a winner. As we continue, and it's up to high spin. We've got Tony there. Hello, Tony.
Good morning. You've had some crackers on, so I thought I may as well join in.
Well, anyway you feel comfortable, Tor.
Exactly. That's exactly it. And you saying you were under a quilt in Benwell, you liar. You never had a quilt in Benwell.
No, did they? No, it was the thinnest sheet known to man, and one of those knitted sheets that were made out of old jumpers that your nana knitted.
Yeah, Nana crochet.
Exactly right, 100%.
Weighed about 3 tons.
And it was scratchy as hell. You couldn't have it up against your skin, otherwise you'd never sleep.
We were talking, because we had the top tangent what I was going to talk about anyway.
Okay.
When we had the power cuts, we had no power up here for like 3 days and all the rest of
it. Yeah.
And I was dead lucky in my use. Well, I was lucky and unlucky, right? So I've got a log burner. We're taking the mickey because I've got a generator, but you haven't got one, so what does that say?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So who was the smart ass without electric one? Now the one in the street, king of the hill.
I was going to say, was everybody not coming up with it and saying any chance I can plug in?
I mean, next door neighbour did. He says, he texted, he says, by the way, I've plugged the socket into your extension and I'm using your power. I thought, you didn't even ask, you just plugged it in. Well, that can't be neighbour, I didn't like. But anyway, the unlucky side of it was the whole bloody family moved in for the 3 days, didn't it?
Yeah.
I had my 2 daughters, my 3 grandkids and my mother.
Oh, blimey. Right.
And my oldest daughter said, it's a bit like Christmas without the fun.
Excellent. You know, if that had been me, the thing that I would have done, Tony, is I'd said, you've just come around at the right time. We're painting the house for Christmas. And then just handed everybody a brush.
I mean, to be fair, the bands loved it because everybody was together, and
yeah.
But it was staying me hearing because my mother sat there like the queen in the corner saying, well, I normally watch the bill now.
Right.
From 1983 or whatever it was. And now I normally watch like classic EastEnders. I was going, I'm bad news.
Yeah,
like shaking head,
You probably put more shifts in though those 3 days.
I did. I have not worked so much. It was warm and dry in the car. What a kind of damage, like. A load of trees come down near me, mother. So it was trees across the roads up here. It was pretty bad, But,
I would have thought because you're on the top of the hill up there, though. High spend.
I know, but the odds you chop with woods, aren't we? So what's in the woods, loads of trees, and they tend to fall through power cables, unfortunately.
Right, yeah.
The game. But I was, and then the internet only come back on 2 days ago. It's amazing what you miss when you haven't got it. But like you say, whenever you used to have it, what did you do before the internet? You had to go to a library or, had to rely on.
Well, no, you bought a book. Have you never bought a book?
Yeah, I only one of yours, and that was the last one. I would buy another one.
It finished it off altogether. Never again.
It's right enough. You know where it was? Can you remember? You'll not remember. You did a book signing up at Rob's at Hexham.
I know I did. I remember.
And I got my book signed off you, and then I think that was the last one I ever bought. I thought, oh no, I've got enough for that. I think it was £9.99 or something. Book at the time. I put us on books for life. But I've still got it somewhere.
That's
but
good.
when you die, I'll probably make a fortune on that, you know. So
Perfect. Hey,
anytime you're ready, I'll have it on eBay.
it's win-win.
I might just go for the odd hat, you know. Talking about people talking crap, Boris, he's like Teflon, isn't he? He gets away with murder absolutely every day of his life. He's talking rubbish, and nobody's pulling him up on it. There just seems to be no recompense for anything he does. So, we didn't have a party, right? You didn't. You had 4 parties, you lying. One was in your flat. We didn't know how to put it. I've been to them parties where I can't remember them, but I certainly knew they happened. Yeah. But government after government have all lied to it. Look, Tony Blair, you know, and don't think for 1 minute governments don't kill off that own people to cover things up. Because just looking at the weapons of mass destruction carry on, how many lads give their lives and limbs for that, for a lie?
Unbelievable.
And what happened to Tony Blair? Nothing. He made a fortune out of it.
You see, I think it takes
a guy from up here.
It takes a certain kind of something for you to make sure that it's written down legally before a war is started, that no matter what happens in the war, you can never be held accountable. That takes some kind of deviousness, doesn't it? I mean, the kind
That's a precursor to a huge lie, isn't it? You know, let's cover me backside before we do this. It just every single one, it doesn't matter Labour, Liberal, or whatever. I'll lie to you. They've all got their own agenda. You can't trust any of them. And I really, you know, you know what my view from the start's been with this bloody COVID carry on. Yeah. Whether it's actually real or yes, I know COVID exists. I'm not saying that, but we know it's a man-made thing. But is it as bad as they're saying? Because I've worked, same as you, I've worked right the way through the whole thing. I must have had thousands of people through this taxi. I've never had so much as a sniffle. How does that work? If it's so contagious and lethal, how have I not ill? Am I Superman or something?
No, and
the
amount of times that people have said, do you know anybody in your family? And the only stories that you get is, well, nobody in our family, but there's a woman whose friend lives down the street, whose cleaners, neighbours, sisters, daughters, teacher had it. And you kind of go,
94, you know, and she died. She was only 94.
But if it was the tidal wave that it is, and it seems that the tidal wave is 80 plus. That's the tidal wave.
We're not stepping over bodies in the street, man. It's not a plague, you know. And yet they keep using this word crisis every time they want to run an agenda. Same as the immigration thing at the minute, right? People coming along in dinghies now. It's now an immigration crisis, and it's going to become, mark my words, in the next few weeks they'll start calling it a humanitarian crisis. And then that's when they'll change all the rules and who the hell they want can come in, you know. And you'll have all these. And 95% of these people coming across are young men. There's not women and children in them boats. On the rare occasion there is, but it's a rare occasion. And you know, they get £3.50 a day. Yeah, they do, on top of somewhere to live, all their food, all their travel, all their clothing. On top of all that.
I hear that. The other thing that kind of worries me is, and I'm sorry to keep, obviously I've got far too much time on my hands, these television programs about the police. Now, police chasing people, arresting people, cameras in their chests, criminals caught on camera. There's 1,000 of these shows. And yet at the end of it all, no matter how heinous their crimes, they're slapped on the hand that says, they'll not do that again in a hurry. We gave them a caution. And you think, well, of course they're going to do it again because they haven't been punished. But it's the number of times that you say, this guy, it's a group of Albanian drug dealers that have been over here from London and they're providing drugs around Britain. And we know what they're doing, but they can't send them back. Why?
Why can't you? What the hell is that all about? Because I'm pretty sure if I rocked up in bloody America and lived there and started breaking laws, they'd just send us straight back.
Sure.
That would be it.
But they'd send you back. They'd send you back to prison in your country, is what they would do.
Yeah. Well, you know, you've been to the States enough. If they think you're dodgy, they just turn you straight around, lock you in a room, and say, right, next flight back, you're away.
Yeah, absolutely.
They don't let you into the country where, we're just open zone and how are you in? Please don't run away. Report back next Wednesday and we'll decide what we're going to do with you. But just disappear into the ether, you know.
Yeah, and then you'll read something. Crazy. then you'll read something in one of the kind of less tabloid papers, like your Guardians and your Telegraphs and what have you, or the Times, and you'll see a paragraph saying, I think it was a Romanian rapist arrested for stealing X, Y, and Z and assaulting a woman, but he can't be sent back to Romania because of his human rights.
What? It's unbelievable. Human rights is the biggest get-out clause in the world.
Whoa.
What about the human rights of all the victims of these people?
100%. That's the page I'm on
If you
to.
commit that sort of crime, you should just lose your human rights. You've just give them up. That's simple as that. You should have thought before you did that I'm going to lose my human rights. You might not have done it, but they're going to commit crimes anyway. It's just going to get out.
Yeah, but you see, they shouldn't have got into the country because surely the whole point of a passport is a passport should be marked if they're criminals. And if they're criminals, other countries should have the right to say, we've seen you got a record for whatever it is you got a record for. We've decided not to allow you entry into the country. Boom. What a great message that would be to send to the world.
Oh, it's unbelievable. They're just getting away with murder, quite literally, And quite a lot of these, there's been 3 or 4 of these terrorist attacks who have been asylum seekers or have come in from wherever. And people say, oh, it's only 2 or 3. Well, that's 2 or 3 too many. Because if you're one of the victims' families, you're not going to say, oh, well, it was only 2 or 3. No, it should be none.
Absolutely.
It should be a minute 0, not the odd one. Absolutely crackers.
The
That's
one,
not what we're going to do about it.
the one that I think made me laugh today, that it's a type of TV show that I really don't watch. And it's these people where, are they telling lies or not? They'll pick somebody that's been in the press, like a killer or a murderer, and they'll go over all of their interviews on screen and say, oh, he dipped his shoulder on the left-hand side. He's obviously lying. I hate these kind of shows. And there's one on about Begin, the girl, the ISIS girl, who tried to get in. And the guy looks at it and says, well, she said yes there, which means she's probably lying or not. And you think...
could that be any more vague?
Well, yeah, obviously she's either lying or she's not lying. It'll be one of the two. And you think, what an utter waste of time.
Well, how much did she westernize herself for the last interview?
Yeah.
She was like something with Playboy magazine stuff in a little skimpy bloody top on, the baseball cap, all the makeup and that. She's really suffering in that camp, and she's got all that designer gear on. I didn't believe a word that girl says, not one single word.
I don't think there's too many.
Choices, and she can live with it now, and she's lost her citizenship. No doubt she'll get back here one day, and some company will take it on legal aid. It'll cost her millions, and she'll get to stay. How long she survives for is a different matter. But honestly, I think she'll get back one day because some trio guy will bring her in.
Well, I hope not, because it's a dangerous precedent. Because if one terrorist manages to persuade us that they're not a terrorist anymore, you just need one slight mistake there, and you're in big trouble.
Well, that was Jeremy Corbyn's stance, wasn't he? He was trying to tell the terrorists aren't terrorists anymore because he was hobnobbing with half of them. Oh no, they've changed their ways. Give over. They've changed their ways. They're just getting their own way. That's the difference. Not changing your ways. It's getting your own way.
No, for sure.
But honestly, it does me head in. But on the good note, we're going to have our Christmas because he wouldn't dare take it away after being funded. He had his last year.
Right.
So it looks like we're going to be allowed to have that. But I can see them trying to bring in some sort of lockdown in January, maybe the first week. But do you think people will take notice this time, or do you think they'll just ignore it?
I think it's touch and go, because I think people in general, I'm getting the sense, judging from the numbers that are ringing in with particular views, that people have kind of had enough.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing in the car every night. We've had enough. Why should we believe them? We're the most vaccinated country in Europe, and the vaccination process has worked really well, and the rollout was fabulous, and aren't we wonderful? But we've still got the highest infection rate. So if the vaccine works, how have we still got the highest infection rate?
Yeah, and also you got to remember we're talking 2 years now. How are we gonna bow down to this for 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, forever?
Well, in my opinion, that's the big experiment. That's what they're trying to find out. how long will we put up with having everything eroded away, all our liberties taken away, being told where we can go, what we can do, who we can sit with, what we can eat and drink, at what time, you know, as how many people can. So it's gone on for 2 years, taking little bits away, giving a little bit back, taking a bit more away, giving a little bit back. It's like a massive experiment to see what we can actually, how much they can manipulate the whole of society to get our own way. I don't know why. I haven't got the answer, but that's what it looks like.
Well, it did.
Let's see how much we can take away, give them a little bit back to placate them. Now let's take a lot more away. Now give them a little bit back, you know.
Yeah, I see it.
You know?
Time will tell.
Seems to be.
Time will tell,
Why
too.
have we all got to have this mystery job? What's in it with him now?
Right.
But I don't know if I'm going to get the booster. I've had the other two, but now I'm thinking, what do we do? Boost every 3 months? What they're putting into every 3 months? I don't know.
Yeah.
So if I drop to Indeed before next week, I should have had it.
Well, at least then maybe he'll get me book back. But thanks a lot, Tony. Appreciate it. Thanks, man. Take care. Bye-bye. There's Tony, 0191 488 3188. Now, we're going to take a quick break, and we will be back with Annette very, very soon indeed.
Come on. It's a bit worrying that Kenny's not here.
I know.
We left him on his own. He could be down one of those ditches.
I know. We're gonna have to find him. He might have gone to the front to wait for us. Maybe. This is playing up. I don't know why. It did this before. I want to try something different. Let's try this. Let's open the portal. Who was with me before? Who was with me before? Who was the little girl? Who was the little girl? Set the children free. Someone's just said set the children free. What's the little girl's name? What's the little girl's name? What was the little girl called? Betsy. Betsy. What's her name? Betsy? Betsy? Is that her name?
Look on the screen.
We got ghosts moving across the screen. That's ridiculous. We can see images of people. Look, they're people.
It looks like it.
They're people walking across the screen.
Kenny was last seen in this direction as well.
That's ridiculous what we're getting there. That's impossible. That's impossible. Oh, wow. Oh, do you see that? It's the movement of the dead almost. They're walking across. Some are bigger than others. Some are children. Some are adults. It's not just the smoke. It's the blackness in the. You see the blackness?
I see the blackness, yeah. It looks like it's just amazing.
Unbelievable. That is unbelievable. Oh. Absolutely full on. And what the hell could that be? And you could see it's smoke or whatever. It's not smoke though.
It looks like there's blackness going across.
There's blackness moving through the beams. I'm going to walk in the direction of the beam then. So if I walk this way, am I walking against them? It's colder. I can feel.
Right. So they're trying to kill off the older population, I presume, because that's
Yes,
that's
yes,
the bulk
that's
of
where I feel. There's not a third world war. There could have been.
Right.
And this is one way to getting rid of a lot of people.
Right. So instead of having a war to thin out the population, like they have been for the last however many hundreds and hundreds of years, we've got to get the population down somehow. So create a virus that'll do it.
Yes, yes.
Whoa.
Now, they've always said there would be a third world war.
Right.
And I honestly think this is a reason.
So
it's happened for a reason, this.
Does this make you worried for yourself in it?
I'm terrified. I am terrified.
What kind?
I've had all my injections.
Right.
I don't even want to go out. I'm frightened to go out.
Oh, blimey, that's terrifying. And presumably,
and I've got a niece.
Uh-huh.
I've got a niece who's only 2.5. She doesn't really know me because I've only seen her for 6 months in her life.
Right. And that's because you've been told to stay away from people.
Yeah.
Right. And you're doing what you're told.
I'm doing what I'm told to do, and yet other people are not.
Yeah. And you are being penalised for that. Can I ask you, Annette, and I'm not trying to be dark in any shape, although what you've described what you've described is very dark in itself. But out of all of the people that you know that are of a similar age to you, have you lost friends?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you see, for those people who haven't experienced that, they're thinking, well, what's all the fuss about? I'm 40 and I'm healthy and I've not got a health issue.
I'm 69 and I'm terrified, Alan.
Right. And, well, I don't...
Terrified and mixing with people.
Right. You're 69 and anybody else that's of that age or higher and younger people, if they've got health problems, they all feel the same way that you do.
Yeah, and it's really... It's depressing.
Yeah, no, for sure. So around Christmas time, it would normally be the time, and I'm sure that you'd be around your family and your grandkids and what have you. Is that going to be possible for you this year, or are you too frightened?
It depends how things pan out, to be honest, Alan.
Right.
I'm being totally honest, because I'm frightened.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And I'm frightened in case, as I say, I don't even go shopping. My husband goes shopping for us.
So you're not even getting fresh air.
It's got me really on rock bottom. Yeah,
no, I bet.
You're right.
I bet. You're going to have to get out and you're going to have to start again and put a mask on by all means, but get out there.
Alan, I never go out without a mask. Never, ever for 2.5 years.
Right.
No, I've never been in a public house for 2.5 years.
Right.
I haven't been for a meal in 2.5 years. It's ruined a lot of people's lives.
Yeah, my view on this, Annette, and it is just my view, is that if you are doing all of this because they tell you to, and I mean, you're not doing it for fun, would it not be better for you to just keep doing all of the things that make your life worth living? Wear a mask and do all of those things.
No, because if I go somewhere and people haven't got a mask on,
well, would it matter?
You don't know what you're going into.
No, but as long as you've got one on, does it matter if they haven't?
Yeah.
Right.
It frightens.
It frightens. I'm frightened. No, I understand that. And there are a lot more people without masks now than there ever have been previously. So.
Exactly.
No, I understand.
If you put a mask on, and they're not doing it.
Right.
All we're doing is trying to make everybody healthy and happy.
Yes.
And try to get on with life.
But your life's been brought to an absolute standstill for 2.5 years, though. That's the thing.
Yeah, really has.
Ah,
I've never been away on holiday.
no, I know. All of these things have been taken from us. That's the thing.
It just builds up and builds up.
Yeah. Well, and
So,
then I sincerely hope that you can get with your family and begin again and say, well, look, we're moving past this. Keep wearing your mask if it makes you feel, a little bit more secure. But yeah, there's a whole world out there.
I would never take it off.
I
mean, if anybody comes to the door, I put my mask on.
Yeah. And you've been, but you've been perfectly fine for that period, haven't you? Those 2 years.
No, I've had a bad chest. I've had a bad chest.
Right. Okay.
My chest being really bad. I can't be breathing.
And that's what this affects as well. So you that makes you doubly careful. No, I
think I've had the long COVID virus.
Right. Well, you may have had. Jeanette. I just feel sorry for you because no matter what anybody says, you're going to be super careful the whole time because
always will be.
Because that's the way you are. That's just how you are. And then I hope you do have a lovely Christmas. Thank you for coming on.
You too, Alan.
Bless you, darling.
Darling.
Bye-bye. Oh, what a damn shame. Don't you just want to take her to the pub and give her a meal and say, come on. And she'd be scared witless the whole time. So, strange world we're in at the present time. But we'll get through it. We'll get through it together. 0191 488 3188. Oh, blimey, our regular dose of Matthew. Hello, Matthew.
Hello, Alan Walker. You all right, Walker? How are you?
I'm fine. I'm good. How are you?
I'm fine. I'm happy to talk to you again.
Well, so am I. Happy to talk to you back.
I'm saying I went out on Wednesday with Ian. We had a good time. And that had a good time. Went down to Seaton Deverville Beach. Where we were filmed.
Champion. Yeah, it's good.
Yep. I'm saying, Alan, I enjoyed your ghost hunt. It was funny.
Good.
Yep. I'm seeing the live.
Not supposed. I don't think it's supposed to be funny, but thank you anyway for laughing at it.
I know the live stream's better than SoundCloud now. I think the SoundCloud's gone now. The YouTube's better. I think I like the YouTube better now.
Okay, that's good. Well, as long as you're getting a kick out of it.
Yep. I'm saying, Alan, Boris Johnson, do you think he's telling a load of pokies again?
I can't remember a time when he wasn't, if I'm honest.
Yeah. But I don't get about Boris Johnson. He's going to let have Christmas and he's probably going to lock it down in January. The pin in the book, he is.
Maybe. I mean, do you really think he will? I mean, and will you stay locked down? That's the question.
I would if there was loads of movies on the telly to watch, but rather come on and talk to you.
So what games you been playing then? And also, what game are you getting for Christmas? That's the thing.
I'm getting the Call of Duty Vanguard for Christmas and the Battlefield 42 games as well. They're good. And
that'll keep
getting the Michael Jackson album. I'm going to come on and talk to you. I'm looking forward to it. I'm saying, Alan, is Tony getting the PS4 game for Christmas?
If he's a good boy.
He's a good producer. Alan, do you know when Tony used to put the SoundCloud on, he made me laugh because he would always write day 2. He'd always write a day 2 on number 1. I was going, oh, okay, you put it on, my friend.
There you go. I know that's his job. Very quickly, do you have anything else you want to say, Matthew? We're getting very close to the end of the show.
I know. Shout out to Ian, shout out to Mary Dewey, shout out to Stewie, to Stephanie and everybody. I'm saying 3 more things, Alan.
Go on, quickly.
Do you think it's going to snow, by the way?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Good night. Bye.
Bye-bye. There's Matthew. It's going to show us snow sometime. I personally hope it doesn't, for I hate driving in the white stuff. However, with Christmas, you've got to look forward to the white stuff. Even curses perhaps sing about it.